Chapter 450. After Chun Sen was killed, everything went unusually smoothly. On the third day of the ambush at the Wild Goose Mountain peak, Chun Tong had called for reinforcements and entered the border covered in dust. The reinforcements that Chun Tong had called for were Elder Dong Qian from the Dark Green Cloud Taoist sect. This Dong Qian was also an elite warrior at the Profound Void martial stage. Similar to Qin Shing, Dong Qian also had a contracted battle beast at the Transformation Void martial stage. Initially, Chun Sen had planned to invite Dong Qian and his battle beast. With two elite warriors at the Profound Void martial stage, they would have a greater chance of winning when dealing with the 100-Leaf Qin clan. Most importantly, Dong Qian had mingled in the Dark Green Cloud Taoist sect. His personal strength was even slightly higher than Chun Sen's. And that contracted battle beast of Dong Qian's was a super-elite warrior that could break through walls and besiege cities. Its skin was rough and its flesh was exceptional. At this moment, Dong Qian was riding on the back of his battle beast and flying in the sky with Chun Tong. Although the speed was not fast, it was not slow either. Just when they were about to approach the Wild Goose Mountain peak, suddenly Dong Qian's spiritual perception moved. He waved his hand and said, "Hold on." Stunned, Chun Tong immediately realized something and both of them pressed down on the cloud. Dropping next to the mountain path, Dong Qian glanced around with a cold expression and said with a cold voice, "Who are you, robbing us here?" Qin Shing did not find it strange. Previously, he had deliberately released a trace of energy to dash into the sky. In fact, he was testing whether this Dong Qian could sense it. Although Qin Shing did not find it strange when he saw Dong Qian's quick reaction, he was somewhat surprised. From the other party's moves, it seemed that he was slightly superior to him in terms of stage. However, Qin Shing was not afraid at this moment. Since he had the graceful spiritual bow, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. Not to mention an elite warrior at the Profound Void martial stage, he would not be afraid even if he was at the Perfect Void martial stage. With a divine weapon in hand, he could protect himself and even win against the enemy. Taking a step forward, Qin Shing's figure appeared from the void. "Chun Tong, do you recognize me?" Qin Shing did not target Dong Qian, but stared at Chun Tong coldly. Initially, Qin Shing did not recognize Chun Tong. However, he found out from Qin Wushuang that the person who went to call for reinforcements was called Chun Tong. Thus, he deduced that this person should be Chun Tong. When Chun Tong suddenly saw an unfamiliar expert blocking his path and directly calling out his name, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. He asked in surprise, "Who are you?" "Who am I?" Qin Shing sneered. "Why are you running back and forth tirelessly? I am the clansman of the 100-Leaf Qin clan that you want to deal with for the 1,000,000 gold crystal stones." Not to mention Chun Tong, even Dong Qian was greatly shocked as he looked at Qin Shing in surprise. His eyes narrowed into slits. Under the sunlight, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. "Impossible!" Chun Tong shouted and denied flatly, "We have surrounded the 100-Leaf Qin clan. Who would believe that you are from the 100-Leaf Qin clan? Now I am afraid not even a fly can fly out of the 100-Leaf Qin clan." When he said to Dong Qian, "Elder Dong, for sure this person is not from the 100-Leaf Qin clan. He does not have good intentions for robbing here." However, Dong Qian remained unmoved as he fixed his gaze on Qin Shing coldly. Both he and Qin Shing were elite warriors at the Profound Void martial stage. Vividly, they had sensed each other's powerful aura. This was not an explosive aura, but the restrained brilliance of an elite warrior at the Profound Void martial stage. It was a form of internal resonance. Qin Shing did not evade his gaze as he fixed his gaze on Dong Qian. He said calmly, "Mister, I don't know where you came from and I don't plan to ask. I only want to say one thing, if you have come to help because of your friendship with Qin Sen, then this matter can end here." Dong Qian smiled lightly, What do you mean? Naturally, a figure from the dark green cloud Taoist sect was not a reckless person. Before he understood the situation, of course, Dong Qian would not make a move recklessly. I only want to ask, do you have any grudges with the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan? Do you have any personal grudges with the 100-Leaf Qin clan? Qin Shing asked lightly. The Qin clan has nothing to do with me. I have come here for friendship and to repay a debt. Dong Qian did not hide his intentions. Okay, indeed you have come for friendship and a debt. Since that person is dead, this debt is also gone. To tell you the truth, Chen Sen has already been executed for invading the 100-Leaf Qin clan. This is the evidence. Qin Shing waved his hand and an object flew out directly to the other side. Dong Qian snatched it and caught it. He fixed his gaze and saw that it was Chen Sen's head that had not died in peace. With one look, even someone as powerful as Dong Qian could not help but break out in cold sweat. Chen Tong even cried out and his entire body froze, as if he had been petrified. How is it possible? Chen Tong was dumbstruck. This is not real, this is not real. This must be a trick. It is not the head of my commander. Although Dong Qian did not lose his composure like Chen Tong, his expression was also complicated. The muscles on his face could not stop twitching as he looked at it repeatedly and mumbled, "This head is not fake." Currently, he was even more shocked by Chen Sen's death. He asked himself that although he was also at the profound void martial stage, perhaps he was slightly better than Chen Senator. However, it would be difficult for him to kill Chen Senator. However, someone had cut off this Chen Sen's head and threw it before him. Then, without a doubt, the person who had killed Chen Sen was much more powerful than him. In other words, the person who had killed Chen Sen would have at least 80 to 90% confidence to kill Dong Qian. For martial artists at Dong Qian's level, their fear of death and their reluctance to live was not something ordinary people could imagine. It was the so-called saying that the older you get, the more you fear death. As Dong Qian thought quickly, he understood the intentions of the other party. The other party did not even want to know Dong Qian's identity. Apparently, they did not want to form a grudge with him. Most likely, it was not that the other party did not know his identity, but that they knew his identity like the back of their hand. Only, they did not want to form a grudge with the dark green cloud Taoist sect behind him. The other party's move was to protect themselves and also a form of not wanting to complicate matters. After all, Dong Qian was an elite warrior at the profound void martial stage and had come from the dark green cloud Taoist sect. If he were to be persuaded by the other party with a few words, he would lose face. At the moment, he gave a cold sneer. "Mister, are you threatening me?" Qin Shing shook his head leisurely. "It's not a threat. The 100-Leaf Qin clan has always emphasized the principle of not offending others if they do not offend us. The reason why I speak these words from the bottom of my heart is because I do not want to form more enemies for no reason. In the end, your Qin clan is still scared," Dong Qian said with a cold sneer. Qin Shing's expression changed as he said coldly, "Mister, if you treat my words as a form of fearful begging, then you are gravely mistaken. Believe it or not, at this wild goose peak, I will have the capital to kill you at this moment." Qin Shing was not an idiot. Although he spoke these words, he did not take out the graceful spiritual bow. Once he took out the graceful spiritual bow, it meant that he had turned hostile and the other party must die. Instantly, Dong Qian's expression changed as he fixed his gaze at Qin Shing for a long time. From his instinct as an elite warrior, Dong Qian did feel a wave of indescribable pressure and a sense of crisis. Although he could not understand where this powerful murderous intent had come from, without a doubt, the other party did not speak empty words. This way, for sure, the 100-Leaf Qin clan already knew Dong Qian's identity. At least, they knew his background. They were not afraid of him, but rather, they were restraining their fear of the dark green cloud Taoist sect behind him. Dong Qian lowered his head and started to discuss with his contracted combat beast using simple beast language. That contracted combat beast also possessed strong combat instincts. He also sensed a wave of cold, murderous intent that could not be hidden. It was enough to threaten their lives. Master, since that Chun Sen is already dead, it doesn't matter if you return the favor you owe him or not. The murderous intent from this person has been concealed. Certainly it is not fake. In my opinion, there is no need to risk your life for a dead person. The 100-Leaf Qin clan never held a grudge with the dark green cloud Taoist sect. Even if the Tao warrior had come, he would not offend the heavenly Emperor Qin clan for such a small matter. Initially, Dong Qian was already hesitant. After hearing the advice from the contracted combat beast, he became even more shaken. When Chun Tong saw Dong Qian remaining silent, he said with a begging tone, "Elder Dong, you must seek justice for our commander." With an ashen face, Dong Qian shouted in a low voice, "I have my own ideas, why are you rushing me?" Chun Tong, Chun Sen coveted the 1,000,000 gold bounty and was willing to be a lackey. Even death could not wipe out his crimes. Since you are helping the tyrant, you must also receive your punishment today. Instantly, Dong Qian was not happy when he heard these words. He said coldly, "Mister, even if I can let go of Chun Sen's matter, your words have gone too far." Qin Sheng said leisurely, "Mister, in fact, I am thinking for you. Although I don't know your identity and background, judging from your extraordinary temperament, you must have a powerful background. This Chun Tong is Chun Sen's trusted aide. If we keep him alive in the future, he will talk too much and it will not be good for your reputation. Today we will have a friendly conversation and reach a compromise. If this Chun Tong is dissatisfied and leaves alive, he will speak ill of you everywhere. Before outsiders who do not know the truth, they will only think that you chose to take a step back because you are scared of the Qin clan. Thus this Chun Tong must be killed. This is for the sake of your reputation." Qin Sheng's words caused Dong Qian, who was already wavering, to have a change of heart. That's right. For today's matter, if he retreated and ignored it, this Chun Tong would hold a grudge and most likely, he would make up stories. Being an elder of the dark green cloud Taoist sect, if Chun Tong ruined his reputation, how could he stay in the orderly mountain prefecture in the future? When he thought here, his heart wavered even more. Qin Sheng's following words had moved his heart even more. "Mister, if you turn around and leave now, I promise that today's matter will not be spread out, as if nothing had happened. The 100-Leaf Qin clan will also owe you a favor. As for Chun Tong, we will take care of him. We cannot let this guy go out and ruin your reputation." When Qin Sheng said here, he suddenly initiated his temperament. Although he had not pulled out the graceful spiritual bow, he had activated it vividly. As soon as the power of this divine weapon combined with his own temperament, instantly, it created a powerful murderous intent that spread out. Instantly, this murderous intent had caused Dong Qian to feel distraught. Each inch of his skin had felt this rich murderous intent. To fight or to make peace, you decide. Qin Sheng spurted out a mouthful of genuine qi. Enlightening even the apathetic, it had instantly shattered Dong Qian's remaining hesitation. "Okay. For today's matter, I will take a step back. Your 100-Leaf Qin clan should also take care of yourself. I am not afraid of the Qin clan. Only, just like you guys, I am unwilling to make unnecessary enemies." Of course, he must speak some polite words. Qin Sheng laughed. "Same to you, long live understanding." To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 451. For someone as experienced as Dong Qian, how could he not know how to make a choice after understanding the severity of the situation? He did not even look at Chun Tong and turned to leave. He urged his mount and turned into a wave of meteoric light and disappeared into the sky. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Chen Tong's expression changed drastically as he also realized the crisis. He urged the sword light and leaped into the sky. Naturally, Qin Shing did not need to use the graceful spiritual bow to deal with such a weak opponent. He also flew into the sky and with a flash of cold light from his hand, a sickle-like curved blade slashed through the sky. Like a ferocious monster that could tear the sky apart, it swallowed and spat. Chi-chi. With the crisp sound of reaping, that Chen Tong did not even have the time to react as his entire body was slashed into two halves by this blade light. The blood light soared to the sky and blood mist filled the sky. It made Qin Wushuang, Bao Bao and the others dumbstruck. This was power, absolute power. Even if he did not use the graceful spiritual bow, before an elite warrior at the profound void martial stage, an elite warrior at the transformation void martial stage appeared too insignificant. Especially when Qin Shing had killed Chen Tong instantly, it made Qin Wushuang and the others fully realize that in the Xian Yuan Mound, the difference of one level meant thousands of ravines. It meant life and death. After Qin Shing had killed Chen Tong, he did not show the slightest pride. As if he had slaughtered a chicken, he dropped down without a care. With a face full of smiles, Qin Shing handed the graceful spiritual bow to Qin Wushuang. Young Master Wushuang, for such divine object, I will return it to you in perfect condition. Today, although I did not use this divine bow, I activated it secretly and used its divine power to strengthen my presence. With a few words, I had scared away that guy from the dark green cloud Taoist sect. This graceful spiritual bow was Qin Wushuang's trump card. Of course, he would not hold back and took it back. He said with a smile, Senior Qin Shing, today, the crisis of the 100-leaf Qin clan should have been resolved. Only, for sure, that person who put out the bounty will not give up. In the future, the 100-leaf Qin clan should be more vigilant. Qin Shing nodded, of course. However, it would not be easy to deal with the 100-leaf Qin clan. If they truly wanted to seize the foundation of the 100-leaf Qin clan, in the end, even if the 100-leaf Qin clan could not resist, the other party would end up with nothing. Since the 100-leaf Qin clan was able to establish a foundation and develop the mines, we are also prepared to destroy everything. Qin Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Qin Shing in surprise. Indeed, this 100-leaf Qin clan was righteous and fierce. Hearing their tone, clearly they were prepared to cut off all means of retreat. In the worst case, they would destroy everything. Even if the 100-leaf Qin clan were to be destroyed, they would not allow outsiders to reap any benefit. Qin Shing chuckled. Today, let's not say these dampening words. Young Master Wushuang has done a great favor for the 100-leaf Qin clan and I have not been able to treat you well. Please come with me to the 100-leaf Qin clan. All the danger had been completely resolved. The entire 100-leaf Qin clan was overjoyed. This time, the haze shrouded the top of the 100-leaf Qin clan. Many disciples of the Qin clan were already prepared to die indiscriminately. Unexpectedly, this crisis had been resolved so easily. Thus, to Qin Wushuang, their great benefactor, of course they were extremely friendly and courteous. Not to mention, Qin Wushuang was also a member of the Qin bloodline. Although they were from different branches, in the end, everyone had inherited the bloodline of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. After staying at the Qin castle for 2 days, under the guidance of Patriarch Qin Bolong, Qin Wushuang also took a tour of the crystal stone mines of the 100-leaf Qin clan. Behind the Qin castle, there were a few deep mountains that were rich in crystal stone mines. Although the mountains were not full of mineral resources, the probability and production of crystal stones were unquestionably the highest in the orderly mountain prefecture. If the 100-leaf Qin clan did not have the protection of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan, indeed, this giant crystal stone mine would have attracted a lot of jealousy. Young Master Wushuang, at least 30% of the daily expenses of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan, and the upper crystal stones needed for training, are provided by the 100-leaf Qin clan. Crystal stones can also be used for training? Qin Wushuang was extremely curious. Qin Bolong explained patiently. Most of the crystal stones cannot be used for individual training. However, besides being used as a currency, many crystal stones with good quality are the best raw material for formations, weapon crafting, and talismans. Look, we are walking inside this mine. There are at least 3 layers of defensive formations outside this mine. Once an enemy breaks through the 100-leaf Qin clan's castle, we will activate this defensive formation. If even this formation can't stop the enemy, we'll activate the last destructive formation and blast all the mines to the ground in an instant, destroying all of our foundations. These formations were set up by the elite warriors of the Heavenly Emperor headquarters. Qin Wushuang listened attentively and inwardly. He was astonished. No wonder they were the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. They were decisive and decisive. If they could not protect themselves, they would never leave it to the enemy. Bao Bao also praised. This way, even if Chen Sen and his group break through the 100-leaf Qin clan's castle, they could not do anything to you guys. All disciples of the 100-leaf Qin clan can hide inside the mine. Let the defensive formation take care of them. Qin Bolong gave a long sigh. The castle of the 100-leaf Qin clan is the foundation of the Qin clan. It is also the first line of defense. Unless it is the last resort, who would be willing to sacrifice that castle? If the castle is truly breached, most disciples of the 100-leaf Qin clan will die for the clan. Qin Wushuang nodded. Most likely, only a few higher-ups of the 100-leaf Qin clan know about the secrets of this mine? Qin Bolong was surprised. Apparently, he did not expect Qin Wushuang to have guessed this. Indeed, young Master Wushuang is smart. That is true. Only the 6 elders know about the secrets of this mine. Normal disciples of the 100-leaf Qin clan would not know. Haha, then why did you tell my boss? Are you not afraid of us gossiping? Bao Bao joked. Haha, everyone in the 100-leaf Qin clan knows about young Master Wushuang's character. Qin Wushuang said with a smile. Don't worry, Patriarch, I am not a talkative person. This mine is so important to the headquarter of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan, it's natural for it to be kept a secret. If outsiders knew too much, they would think of ways to deal with these formations. Only when outsiders do not know about these formations, even if an enemy were to invade, this formation would work as a defense. Secondly, it would buy us some time to wait for the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan to send elite warriors to help. Inwardly, Qin Bolong was overjoyed when he saw that Qin Wushuang had deduced many things from one case. He had a premonition that although this Qin Wushuang had come from the human countries, in time, this Qin Wushuang would become a powerful existence that could share the burden of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. He would not be inferior to the young disciples of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. It took another 3 days to tour the mine. Qin Wushuang stayed for 5 or 6 days. Since he was worried, he asked to leave. Of course, the 100-leaf Qin clan did not ask him to stay. Before his departure, he could not do without some treats and banquet. Thus, it took another 2 or 3 days. Finally, it allowed Qin Wushuang to leave. Young Master Wushuang, we are all disciples of the Qin clan, we cannot thank you enough. The entire 100-leaf Qin clan will never forget young Master Wushuang's kindness. Qin Bolong said with a sincere tone. He waved his hand and the subordinate behind him carried out a tray covered with red silk. Qin Bolong untied the red silk and inside it was a plate of resplendent crystal stones. The colorful stones were too much for the eyes to take in. Young Master Qin, these crystal stones are a gift from the 100-leaf Qin clan. Please don't refuse. Qin Bolong looked at Qin Wushuang with a sincere gaze. Before Qin Wushuang could speak, the purple flame electric beast laughed. Great boss, earlier we were troubled by money. Now we don't need to find pawnshops to exchange our belongings for money. Ha ha ha. Hearing the words of the purple flame electric beast, Qin Bolong also laughed. Young Master Wushuang has just arrived from the human countries and does not know the rules of the Xian Yuan Mound. The Xian Yuan Mound does not use gold or silver, they only recognize crystal stones. Isn't that right? Our boss even went to pawn his valuable belongings. Bao Bao also laughed mischievously when he remembered that embarrassing experience. Qin Bolong said seriously, "Young Master Wushuang, these 100 green crystal stones are worth 10,000 gold crystal stones. With these crystal stones, it would not be a problem to guarantee 10 years of living expenses for the three of you. There are also 3 purple crystals. Their value is equivalent to 300 green crystals." Initially, in the Xian Yuan Mound and the Forbidden Spiritual Zones, there were 4 levels of common currency. Silver crystal stones, yellow crystal stones, green crystal stones and finally, purple crystal stones. 1 purple crystal stone was equivalent to 100 green crystal stones. 1 green crystal stone was equivalent to 100 yellow crystal stones. And 1 yellow crystal stone was equivalent to 100 silver crystal stones. In total, 1 purple crystal stone was equivalent to 1,000,000 silver crystal stones. For your information, it would only cost a few dozen silver crystal stones to stay at an inn and eat a meal. 3 purple crystal stones were equivalent to 3,000,000 silver crystal stones. To Qin Wushuang, who had always been embarrassingly short on money, it was truly a rich amount. There were at least 300 resplendent crystal stones on this tray. Besides these 4 specific types of crystal stones, the rest were all training crystal stones. Young Master Wushuang, these crystal stones each have their own unique uses. If this blue crystal stone is used in the water-type formation, it would be enough to perfect the formation and unleash more power. And this earthy brown crystal stone is used in the earth-type formation. The construction of the 100-leaf Qin clan's castle relied on this ground quartz crystal stone. Not only can it make the building more stable, it can also be used to set up the formation and increase the sensitivity of the formation. And this blood-red crystal stone, this is the cinnabar crystal stone and is the best material for writing talismans. Ordinary talisman masters would be extremely thirsty for this crystal stone. For example, this dark crystal stone does not appear much different than ordinary stones. In fact, it is the best material for forging weapons. Even if it is a scrap metal ordinary weapon, if a little bit of this crystal stone could be merged into it, it would turn the rotten into something magical. If one were to forge weapons at the Void Martial stage, this black crystal stone would be indispensable. Qin Bolong explained the general use of these crystal stones patiently. Qin Wushuang kept nodding as he paid close attention. With these crystal stones having so many magical uses, Qin Wushuang would be disrespectful to refuse. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 452. He must say that this crystal stone was what Qin Wushuang needed the most. If that's the case, I will not hold back. Qin Wushuang took it and said with a smile, "Ha ha, young Master Wushuang, even the dark green cloud Taoist sect would not be able to give you such a gift. The 100-leaf Qin clan does not have much valuable stuff. However, they do have some crystal stones. This is called living off the mountain." Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "With crystal stones we will have everything else." Qin Bolong laughed and nodded. "That's right. With crystal stones it would be others begging us. In the orderly mountain prefecture, the 100-leaf Qin clan is not the strongest powerhouse. However, because they are rich in crystal stones, they hold a high position." Qin Wushuang cupped his hands in a salute. "Great Patriarch, thank you for your generous gift. I will take my leave now." Qin Bolong was somewhat reluctant as he patted Qin Wushuang's shoulder. Young Master Wushuang, in the future, if you have time, please remember to visit the 100-Leaf Qin clan. Of course. Patriarch Qin, take care. 100-Leaf Qin clan, take care. Take care. Qin Bolong nodded heavily. All disciples of the Qin clan, take care. After bidding farewell to the 100-Leaf Qin clan, Qin Wushuang, Bao Bao and the Purple Flame Electric Beast embarked on a new journey. Indeed, this battle of the 100-Leaf Qin clan had been a spectacular one at the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. Although no one knew the exact battle situation besides General Manager Su, the only fish that had escaped the net, the outside world seemed to have taken it seriously. Different versions of the rumors had raised a clamor. Of course, Qin Wushuang and his two brothers had registered at the Black Raven Royal City. Besides General Manager Su, no one knew that these three had participated in that battle. Thus, while they were walking, although everyone was discussing this battle of the 100-Leaf Qin clan, no one knew that the three people involved in that battle were right next to them. On this day, these three had finally arrived at the capital city of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. In total, there were 72 prefectures in the Xian Yuan Mound. Each prefecture was like a country in the human countries. The highest governing area of each prefecture was known as the capital city. The three of them still used the name of the Wu brothers to pass through the city gate inspection. The capital city was the core of a prefecture, and as expected, it was unprecedentedly prosperous. It was also the most prosperous city that Qin Wushuang and his friends had passed through after entering the Xian Yuan Mound. Those prefectural cities and royal cities had already given Qin Wushuang a lot of shock. However, when the real capital of a prefecture was placed in front of Qin Wushuang, he finally understood what true prosperity was and what a forbidden land of God was. In the capital city, even the process of entering the city gate was much more complicated. Outside the city gate there were also countless patrols. It seemed to be heavily guarded. After walking through the city gate, there were rows of bulletin boards under the city tower. Some of these bulletin boards were for officials, some were for organizations, and some were for individuals. Therefore, the notice board was always crowded with people at all times. Qin Wushuang and the others saw groups of people crowded under the city wall. From the appearance of those people, most likely they were freelance martial artists from different places. Son of a bitch, do you have eyes? You stepped on my shoes. Grandson, who are you scolding? From time to time, similar scolding voices emerged from the crowd. Don't look at how these people spoke of their bravery. However, only a few of them had gone all out for such trivial matters. Lone shook his head and said with a bitter smile, "Are these people crazy? What are they looking at by squeezing here and there?" Bao Bao laughed. "You are an outsider, right? Usually, the wall after entering the city is the best place to post the bulletin boards and distribute missions. Inside the city gate, it's the golden area. Posting a bulletin board is money. This is called making money in the right way, what do you know?" Lone twitched his mouth and showed a disapproving expression. "Boss, do you want to go watch the show?" Bao Bao suggested. Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do, let's go watch." When these three arrived before the bulletin board, they did not fight for a spot. After looking for a while, Bao Bao cried out, "This is the official bulletin board, there is nothing to see. There are a lot of people over there, it must be the place where various allied organizations release missions. It attracts martial artists from different places." When Qin Wushuang and the others arrived at the board mentioned by Bao Bao, indeed, there were a lot of people. It was more than 5 times more than the other places. It was a dark and crowded place. Ridiculous. No one could swallow 1 million gold crystal stones. It seems that the 100-Leaf Qin clan is indeed tough. Look, the reward has increased to 2 million. Even if it's 2 million, I am afraid no one will step into this muddy water. Even an elite warrior like Senior Chun Sen was killed by the 100-Leaf Qin clan silently. Could it be that one must be at the perfect void martial stage? Perfect void martial stage, that would not be something that 2 million gold crystal stones would be enough to invite. Without 5 million, don't even think about it. Besides, in our gigantic orderly mountain prefecture, there are only a few at the perfect void martial stage. There would not be more than 10. Among these people, which one of them lacks money? That's right. Regarding the perfect void martial stage, which one of them is not a big shot, who would lack money? I am afraid money alone would not be enough to stimulate the appetite of a perfect void martial stage. TSK, you guys, why are you pretending to know when you don't? Hey, Sixth Gua, you said we don't know, could it be you do? Don't act pretentious here, be careful of being struck by a bolt from the blue and getting struck to death. TSK, enough of that. You are only talking nonsense. Just you guys, not to mention 2 million gold crystal stones. Even if I gave you 10 million gold crystal stones, I am afraid you would not be able to get a single hair from the patriarch of the 100-leaf Qin clan. If you are good, then go get a hair for us to see. Instantly, those few felt unhappy after being mocked by Sixth Gua's words. I don't have that skill, but I will still judge. If there's a show, I will watch. If not, I will cool off on the side. Let me give you a word of advice, trouble comes from the mouth. After being lectured by old Sixth Gua like an old man, those people were a little unconvinced. However, under everyone's eyes, they could not turn hostile. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang smacked his tongue. Inwardly, he thought that the 100-leaf Qin clan's crisis would continue. However, since the 100-leaf Qin clan had so many trump cards, Qin Wushuang was not as worried as before. When he heard these people discussing the 100-leaf Qin clan, he did not participate. Instead, he walked to the side with a smile. TSK, the world has changed. A rough voice next to him clicked his tongue and sighed. He could not help but cry out, since when could a martial artist from the human countries get a second-level assassination order? From the looks of it, it seems there are signs of a second-level assassination order? This guy had a rough appearance and kept crying out. Apparently, he found it somewhat unbelievable. If I remember correctly, the prefecture where the heavenly Luo Daoist sect is located is the Divine Brilliance Prefecture, right? This Divine Brilliance Prefecture is more than 1,000,000 miles away from our orderly mountain prefecture. To think that the bounty order could be issued here. This was truly a rare sight. Could it be that the heavenly Luo Daoist sect cannot deal with martial artists from the human countries? What do you know? It was issued to our orderly mountain prefecture because it is at the border of the Tianxian land and closest to the human countries. Do you think that the heavenly Luo Daoist sect could not even deal with human martial artists? Did your head get caught in the door? Your head is not caught in the door. Then tell me, why didn't the heavenly Luo Daoist sect make a move themselves? This is called killing with a borrowed knife. If the heavenly Luo Daoist sect had to make a move for such a small matter, how could they live up to their status in the Xian Yuan Mound? Humph, a great status. Idiot. If the heavenly Luo Daoist sect does not have a great status, then who do you think has a great status? I say the heavenly Emperor 8 Gates is the true supreme status. The heavenly Luo Daoist sect is strong. Can they enter the heavenly Emperor 8 Gates? There are only 8 heavenly Emperor 8 Gates in the entire Xian Yuan Mound. Even if the heavenly Luo Daoist sect could not enter these 8 positions, they could at least be ranked in the top 16. The two of them took a bite out of each other's mouthfuls, debating. However, inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt apprehensive when he heard them. Without a doubt, the topic these two were discussing was related to Qin Wushuang. At the 100-leaf Qin clan, Patriarch Qin Belong's little brother, Qin Zhonglong, had mentioned that the Freelance Martial Artist Alliance had posted a bounty to kill Qin Wushuang. Now, everything had been verified. Indeed, on that bulletin board, a bounty from the highest freelance martial artist alliance of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture was posted. This mission had specifically stated that it was a second-level bounty, and the party that had issued it was the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect. And the amount of the bounty had increased from the 50,000 gold crystal stones mentioned by Qin Zhonglong. It had jumped to 80,000 gold crystal stones. This bounty had already moved many elite freelance martial artists. For your information, 1 million gold crystal stones could incite elite warriors at the Profound Void martial stage to move out. Besides, there were many elite warriors at the Transformation and Refined Void martial stage. This way, 80,000 gold crystal stones were enough to drive elite warriors at the Transformation Void martial stage to work for it. Darn it, the price has increased again, Bao Bao whispered inwardly. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang was expressionless. As long as the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect did not dare to cause trouble in the human countries, he would not be afraid even if they had posted 1 million gold crystal stones bounty. After all, his current identity was Wu Xinghe. Conceal one's strength, bide one's time, and accumulate enough strength. Now, he had suffered the wrath of the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect and was being chased by them. In one day, he would return all of this to them. This was Qin Wushuang's goal. Everyone, tell me, in the end, what kind of person is this Qin Wushuang? How many exceptional martial artists could a desolate place like the human countries have nurtured? How could he make the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect bleed so much to kill him? Don't forget, although he came from the human countries. However, this Qin Wushuang has the surname Qin. In the Tian Xian land, people with this surname must pay extra attention. He is famous for being swift and fierce. Haha, that's right. Just take the 100-leaf Qin clan for example. When the 1 million gold crystal bounty was posted and Senior Chun Sen stepped out, everyone thought they were finished. However, what was the outcome? All those elite warriors gathered by Senior Chun Sen had been completely annihilated. The Qin clan has always been unpredictable. For thousands of years, the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan was also looked down upon. However, they are still one of the Heavenly Emperor Eightgate. One after another, these fellows were having a good time chatting. When talking about the Qin clan, the topic was always attractive. In a moment, many idle martial artists had gathered. Their saliva splattered everywhere as they chatted freely. To Qin Wushuang's surprise, these freelance martial artists did not gnash their teeth when talking about the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. On the contrary, many martial artists had retained some respect when they talked about the Qin clan. It seems that the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan still has the foundation of the masses in the Xian Yuan Mound. Only, they had offended too many powerhouses, and it had caused them to have a difficult time surviving. While Qin Wushuang was thinking this way, suddenly, a wave of hurried shouts came from the street in front of him. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 453. Groups of warriors, dressed in neat uniforms, were patrolling the area. The leader of the martial artists waved the long whip in his hand and shouted, "You freelance martial artists, hurry and find an inn to stay in. In the next 3 days, it's best not to go out on the street. This orderly mountain capital city is going to be under half martial law. If you don't want to cause trouble, you should either leave the city quickly or find a place to stay. Those with a sect to rely on, hurry and go home to train. Don't wander around on the street." These martial artists were the official army of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. Their combat power was extremely powerful. Their individual strength was already astonishing. Their ability to fight in groups was even more well-trained. They were many times more powerful than these freelance martial artists. Thus, although the freelance martial artists were not happy to be scolded, they did not dare to disobey. No one dared to complain. They all knew that at this time, Whoever dared to speak out of turn would be playing with their own lives. These official knights were famous for being unreasonable. It would be the same as seeking death to talk back to them. They scattered in all directions like a swarm of bees. Of course, Qin Wushuang would not provoke these unnecessary quarrels as he also walked towards the city. Along the way, he could see patrolling official knights everywhere. These people were showing off their power everywhere and acting tyrannically. Wherever they went, there would be chaos. What the hell, this orderly mountain capital city does have a grand scale. However, the way they do things is nothing special. These people are wearing a body of leather and showing off their power as if they are great. Their faces. Lone was like an angry youth. When he saw something he could not stand, he would mutter a few words. Bao Bao did not find it strange. Second, such things are not strange at all. I think these people might not be like this usually. Or else, who would come to this orderly mountain capital city? I am afraid we would not even see a ghost. For sure, they are doing this because some important figure is coming to the orderly mountain prefecture. In the end, Bao Bao had a sharp mind. Qin Wushuang nodded with a smile. That's right. Qin Wushuang was extremely familiar with this scene. In his former world, he had seen too many of such situations. Let every man of importance come down below. Wouldn't they cause a great disturbance? After finding an inn, the three of them settled down. This inn was located in a prime location. Qin Wushuang had chosen the highest floor. Hence, the price was much higher. However, the price was the same as the price. The higher the price, the better the service and treatment. This inn was completely different from the small inns in the continent's capital. When it was nighttime, Bao Bao and Lone visited Qin Wushuang's room as usual. Bao Bao was bored to death. So boring, what is this orderly mountain prefecture doing? Even the streets were under martial law. How were they going to let people live? If we had known earlier, we would have bypassed this place. That's right, boss. What kind of background do you think the people who came this time have? Qin Wushuang shrugged and said with a wry smile, I really don't know. I am rather curious, how powerful is this person with a great background, and why did he come to the orderly mountain prefecture? Boss, are you still worried about the 100-leaf Qin clan? Lone asked. Qin Wushuang shook his head and gave a long sigh. The 100-leaf Qin clan has their own destiny. I was there at the right time and helped them this time. In the future, whether the 100-leaf Qin clan can remain safe and sound, it will depend on their luck. This upcoming major figure should not be related to the 100-leaf Qin clan. Why do you say so? For sure, the ones dealing with the 100-leaf Qin clan are those powerhouses that are enemies with the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. If they had come, certainly they would not be so high-profile. The more high-profile they are, the more they would remind the 100-leaf Qin clan to make preparations. I think they would not be this stupid. Haha, that's right. Bao Bao scratched his head. I will not waste my brain to think about it. Anyways, what will come will come. When the time comes, let's watch the show. Boss, could it be people from the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect? Lone asked suspiciously. It's not impossible. Qin Wushuang did not care. Could it be the Dao warrior of the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect is coming? Bao Bao blinked his eyes. However, Lone analyzed. It's reasonable to say that the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect is only a second-class powerhouse in the Xian Yuan Mound. Doesn't the orderly mountain prefecture also have a dark green cloud Daoist sect that is close to the second class? Bao Bao immediately said. The dark green cloud Daoist sect is between the third-rate and second-rate powerhouses. They are only close to the second-rate. However, for the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect, the Silver Monkey King said that among the second-rate powerhouses, they are close to the first-rate powerhouses. It seems that the division of powerhouses in the Xian Yuan Mound is extremely mysterious. I am afraid that only those first-rate powerhouses are unquestionably the top existences. Lone gave a long sigh. After staying at the inn for the night, Qin Wushuang and his friends did not check out the next day and continued to stay at the inn. Only they could still go out on the streets during the day. Of course, there was a time limit. Once it was nighttime, the martial law would be implemented. On the third day, suddenly, the streets of the orderly mountain capital city became lively. However, this liveliness was all official news. Amidst the sound of gongs and drums, the atmosphere of the orderly mountain capital city seemed to have thickened. "He's here, a major figure is here." Yes, someone saw a moment ago that the prefecture lord of the orderly mountain prefecture went to welcome him. Tisk Tsk, our orderly mountain prefecture is considered a remote and desolate place in the Xian Yuan Mound. I really don't know where this major figure has come from. He has given us enough face. Outside the city gate, the prefecture lord of the orderly mountain prefecture had brought a large group of followers and all the reputable figures of the orderly mountain prefecture. Outside the official road, a group of knights from the orderly mountain prefecture led the way. However, there were only 3 or 4 people following behind them. One of the middle-aged man had kept an elegant purple beard. His appearance was clear and strange. When he walked, he gave people a feeling of extraordinary temperament. However, from the face of this person, there was some imperceptible gloominess. Although it was a long and arduous journey, he did not appear travel-worn. Only, that trace of depression between his brows could not help but make people wonder if he was troubled by something. When this person saw a large group of people gathered outside the city gate, he knew that they were the important figures of the orderly mountain prefecture. He did not show any joy, and inwardly, he shook his head with a bitter smile. Clearly, he did not like this meaningless display of extravagance. Here. A joyful expression emerged from between the brows of Xie Sankai, the prefecture lord of the orderly mountain prefecture. He immediately went up and chuckled as if he had seen an old friend that he had not seen for many years. He appeared extremely intimate. "Lord Mu Rong, we are honored by your presence. I, Xie Sankai, apologize for not going out to meet you." Although this Xie Sankai could not be considered a first-rate figure in the Xian Yuan Mound, he was close to being a first-rate figure since he was the prefecture lord. Regardless of his strength or wisdom, this person was much higher than ordinary people. Inside his heart, he had a clear account book and was very particular about it. In the Xian Yuan Mound, what kind of people could he not offend and could not afford to curry favor with? What kind of people could he not afford to offend, but could he curry favor with? What kind of people could he not afford to offend, but could he not curry favor with? In his account book, the person that had come today belonged to the people that he could not afford to offend, but could curry favor with. Thus, in Xie Sansai's eyes, this Lord Mu Rong did not belong to the highest level. In Xie Sansai's eyes, the highest level was an existence that he could not afford to offend and could not curry favor with. For such figure, Xie Sankai would not think too much. However, this Lord Mu Rong before him was someone he could curry favor with. Of course, he was extremely attentive. All of his efforts were to rack his brains to curry favor with this person. This purple-bearded middle-aged man was indeed the #1 figure of the floating snow house, a major powerhouse in the Xian Yuan Mound, Mu Rong Qianji. Besides being the #1 figure of the floating snow house, this person had another identity. He was the father of Miss Mu Rong that Qin Wushuang had met. Of course, at this moment, Qin Wushuang had no way to know. He also did not know that this major figure that had come to the orderly mountain prefecture would be greatly related to his future. When Mu Rong Qianji saw Xie Sankai rushing over with a large group of people, he stopped his footsteps and said with a smile, "Prefecture Master Xie is making such a big fuss, I am ashamed." "What are you talking about, Lord Mu Rong?" Xie Sankai was overwhelmed by this unexpected favor. He extended his hand and shook hands with Mu Rong Qianji intimately. Inwardly, I have been excited for a few days to have someone like Lord Mu Rong come to a remote and desolate place like my orderly mountain prefecture. Prefecture Master Xie really knows how to joke. This time, I did not intend to disturb your peaceful training when I passed by your place. Indeed, I was worried about the whereabouts of my daughter and asked around. Immediately, an extremely regretful expression appeared on Xie Sansai's face. As if he was also feeling anxious for Lord Mu Rong, he said with a tone. I also heard that Miss Mu Rong had gone out to relax and had not returned for a few years. Half a year ago, there were rumors that someone had seen Miss Mu Rong at the dispersed praying mountain. Some people also said that Miss Mu Rong was in the human countries. At that time, I only hated the fact that we were too far apart. Or else, I would have sent a message to Lord Mu Rong. Ah, I have spoiled that willful girl of mine. Mu Rong Qinji gave a long sigh. Although he said it this way, besides concern, his tone did not contain much reproach. Xie Sankai observed his words and body language and knew that Mu Rong Qinji had spoiled his precious daughter. He had always treated his daughter as his own flesh and blood. Immediately, he said, Lord Mu Rong, I only knew that my niece had gone out to relax for a while and would return soon. I didn't expect you to be alarmed and come out to search for her. Please let me know if you need my help. Indeed, Mu Rong Qianji needed the help of this local overlord. Or else, he would not have come to this orderly mountain capital city to see this Xie Sankai. When Xie Sankai saw him remaining silent, he said again in a solicitous tone, It's not that I am boasting. At the orderly mountain prefecture, if your daughter were to pass by this place, I would have noticed. Lord, if you need my help, please don't treat me as an outsider. Although the orderly mountain prefecture is far away from the floating snow house, I have long heard of Lord Mu Rong's virtuous name. Mu Rong Qianji knew that this Xie Sankai was a person who wanted to curry favor. However, since he was eager to find his daughter, he had to follow his tone and said politely, If that's the case, thank you, Prefecture Lord. What are you talking about? Haha, let's enter the city first. The orderly mountain capital city is simple and crude, please don't laugh at us. Don't mention it, don't mention it. Mu Rong Qianji smiled and looked around. To be continued, if you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 454. In the Xian Yuan Mound, Mu Rong Qianji was a well-known figure. Although the floating snow house was on par with first-rate powerhouses like the Heavenly Emperor Eight Gates, they were still a second-rate powerhouse. Across the entire Xian Yuan Mound, they were a major powerhouse in the top 20. Mu Rong Qianji's own powerhouse was enough to rank in the top 50 of the entire Xian Yuan Mound. Perhaps, being ranked in the top 50 did not appear to be awe-inspiring. However, considering the number of powerhouses in the Xian Yuan Mound and the abundance of elite warriors, being able to rank in the top 500 would be enough for one to become a feudal lord. And being ranked in the top 50 in the Xian Yuan Mound, they would definitely be looked up to by people. Thus, it was easy to understand why Xie Sankai was trying to curry favor with him. After a round of social interaction, Mu Rong Qianji finally obtained a short period of peace. He rested at the guest house that Xie Sankai had arranged with meticulous care. Due to his concern for his beloved daughter, Mu Rong Qianji appeared to have a heavy load on his mind. Master, are you still not asleep? The one that spoke was Mu Rong Qianji's trusted aide that had followed him for more than 200 years. Mu Rong Qianji had always called him Wuda. This Wuda had followed Mu Rong Qianji for all these years. Regardless of foreign affairs or internal affairs, he had almost become Mu Rong Qianji's shadow. Indeed, he had taken care of many major matters. For such an accompanying trip, of course, Wuda would be at his beck and call. Wuda, look at the alluring moonlight tonight. I just don't know where Su Er is at this moment. Mu Rong Qianji gave a light sigh. Master, Miss went out to relax. When she has had enough fun, she will return home. I think that the human countries should not pose any threat to Mississippi. I am not worried about her safety. Mu Rong Qianji slowly shook his head. I am only worried about the sinister hearts of the people in the outside world. Su Er has just stepped into the Jianghu and has been deceived. In the world of mortals, the most terrifying thing is not the threat of martial power, but the sinister hearts of the people. Master, I see that Miss is talented and intelligent. Since a young age, she has had her own opinions. Master, I am only worried that she has treated her as an inexperienced little girl. In my opinion, with Mrs. Intelligence, ordinary people could not deceive her. Although this Mu Rong Qianji was a super-elite warrior of the Xian Yuan Mound, when it came to the issue of children, he cared for his children like all the other parents in the world. Mu Rong Qianji raised his head and looked at the moonlight in the night sky. He was somewhat melancholy. Wuda, the reason I came out this time was to look for Su Er in name. It was to avoid the continuous urging of the 4 Dao warriors of the heavenly Luo Daoist sect. Wuda was very tactful and didn't comment on this issue. Mu Rong Qianji smiled bitterly. The power of the floating snow house would not lose to the heavenly Luo Daoist sect. In the first place, there was no need to care about their expressions. However, Su Er's marriage was agreed upon long ago. Right now, Su Er had been on the run for several years. At the beginning, he was still able to gloss over it. He just thought that she was young and insensible. Now that a few years have passed and he still did not return, from the perspective of the heavenly Luo Daoist sect, it would appear that the floating snow house is not amenable to reason. In the end, it's still a matter of face. Wuda gave a long sigh. Master, from my point of view, for this marriage, if Miss is unwilling, we cannot force it. Although that heavenly Luo Daoist sect is in the limelight, it's not worthwhile for the floating snow house to curry favor with them. How could I not think the same? Mu Rong Qianji gave a light sigh. Regarding this matter, there is no reason at all. It's a marriage that was agreed upon by the previous generation. Currently, the older generation of both parties have already passed away. Yet, they have left behind this endless lawsuit. By the way, Wuda, how is that Luo Ting's talent? Do you have any new information recently? Regarding that Luo Ting, at the heavenly Luo Daoist sect, he is being nurtured as a successor. Many years ago, this kid was said to be at the transformation void martial stage. Recently, there are rumors that he is about to break through and enter the profound void martial stage. I don't know if this is a rumor or it's true. It needs to be verified. Ha, if he is not a first-rate powerhouse like the heavenly Emperor Eight Gates, among the younger generation, to be able to enter the profound void martial stage, he should be considered a rare genius, right? Wuda nodded. Indeed, it's rare to be able to enter the profound void martial stage at his age. His future is limitless. Su Er doesn't like such talent and martial arts. Why is that? When Mu Rong Qianji said this, he also felt extremely helpless. Although he was an exceptional hero, he also knew that he could not force matters such as feelings. Since a young age, this daughter of his had always had her own opinions. She was soft on the outside but strong on the inside. Once she had made up her mind, it would be difficult for outsiders to make her change her mind. Wuda laughed. In fact, that young Master Luo Ting is somewhat too high-profile. When he visited the floating snow house a few times, I also observed him coldly. Although he is a shrewd person, he is not good at concealing his sharpness. Since he is too high-profile, it's not easy for him to accept other people. Perhaps Missy does not like his excessive confidence. Mu Rong Qianji nodded and gave a long sigh. Excessive confidence is considered arrogance. In the Xian Yuan Mound, unless you are an offspring of the totem clan, you do not have much capital to be arrogant. When he said here, suddenly, Mu Rong Qianji revealed a smile and asked, Last time, the honored Taoist of the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect sent me a letter. He said that Su Er had made a move to deal with people of the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect in the human countries. I heard that it was to protect a young man from the human countries. Do you still remember this matter? Wu De said respectfully, Of course I remember. I also ordered people to investigate the matter that you asked me to investigate. What is the exact situation? According to the information, most of the rumors are true. Missy did become acquainted with a young man from the human countries. However, it seems that they only interacted with each other in terms of music. What is the name of that young man? Mu Rong Qianji asked in a low voice. Qin Wushuang. Qin. Mu Rong Qianji frowned slightly and revealed a trace of curiosity. Is this Qin related to the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan? For now, I don't know. However, according to the information, this Qin Wushuang is extremely interesting. In the human countries, he could be considered as an absolute oddity. Oddity? How so? Mu Rong Qianji also seemed to be interested. In the human countries, this young man only came from a grassroots aristocratic family. His family had declined and was in dire straits. Before he was 13 or 14 years old, he was ordinary and even somewhat cowardly. However, after a duel between the aristocratic offspring, this young man seemed to have been enlightened. From then on, he could not be stopped. In just a few years, he had brought that declining family of his to the position of the royal family. And he himself, from a little martial arts student in the human countries, he had jumped to the upper sky spiritual martial force in just a few years. Mu Rong Qianji said with a smile. Perhaps this young man had received some fortune and swallowed some upper sky spiritual object. Master, that human country is extremely barren. Even those powerful sects might not be able to cultivate spiritual fruits, not to mention a remote and desolate place. It would be fine if he had entered the upper sky spiritual martial force. However, all of this was only the beginning of this young man. In less than 3 years, this Qin Wushuang had advanced by leaps and bounds. Not only did he help his sect to resist the invasion of powerful enemies, he had also completely destroyed and replaced the strongest powerhouse in the human countries. To the human countries, this could be counted as a miracle. Naturally, Mu Rong Qianji knew the predicament of the human countries. Master, the empire he had destroyed was called the Red Dragon Empire. And the strongest powerhouse in that empire was called the Nine Palace faction. The supporter behind the Nine Palace faction was the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. Heavenly Luo Taoist sect? Mu Rong Qianji finally realized the light. I see. This way, Su Er had stepped out because of the grudge between the two countries? In fact, Miss did not make a move. I heard that she had only reprimanded that disciple from the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. She had used the agreement from 10,000 years ago as an excuse to persuade him to leave. No wonder when the Tao warrior of the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect mentioned this matter. He was also evasive and did not explain the ins and outs of the matter. They were also feeling guilty. The powerhouse of the forbidden spiritual zones had openly sent people to interfere with the conflict in the human countries. Indeed, it had violated the 10,000-year-old agreement. Mu Rong Qianji's tone was not relaxed. However, Su Er was willing to step out. It seems that she valued the relationship between Su Er and that Qin Wushuang? Wu De smiled bitterly. Master, from the information, Miss did value this relationship greatly. She had traveled around the human countries and the dispersed praying mountain. It seemed that she had been paying attention to that Qin Wushuang. Mu Rong Qianji's expression was somewhat embarrassed as he fell into deep thought. Instantly, his expression had become solemn. Instantly, the courtyard became silent. It was so quiet that only the insects chirping in the dark night could be heard. All living things seemed to have gradually fallen asleep under the dim light of the night. Wu De, Could it be that Su Er had fallen in love? When Mu Rong Qianji spoke these words, his tone was also heavy. Master, Miss is your daughter. You should know her better than me, right? If she had fallen in love, I am afraid she might not. However, in terms of good feelings, she would have. That young man knows music, and understands the sound of the zither. Miss has always been obsessed with music. To such a young man, she could not help but have an extra appreciation and good impression. Mu Rong Qianji mumbled. Idiot, she is truly an idiot. Her grandfather, who is my father, was obsessed with chess. Initially, because he had lost a game of chess, he decided on that absurd marriage. I, Mu Rong Qianji, have been obsessed with the way of the sword for my entire life. I didn't expect that my daughter would also be such an idiot. Wu De said with a smile. Master, perhaps because of this obsession, the Mu Rong clan has some unique advantages over others in terms of training. However, those who have this obsession are always people who are loyal to their feelings. This is a double-edged sword. If you use it well, everything will be good. If you don't use it well, you will miss out on your entire life. Wu De comforted him. Master, the moonlight is just right, there is no need to think about these troublesome matters. How about I accompany you to take a walk and experience the scenery of this Xian Yuan Mound border? Since Miss had appeared in the human countries, perhaps there will be some unexpected gains at this orderly mountain royal city? All right, let's take a walk. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 455. Since the honorable guests had arrived, Xie Sankai had done enough on the surface. Thus, the martial law of the orderly mountain prefecture capital city was lifted. Naturally, those martial artists that had been suppressed for 2 or 3 days walked out of their houses and arrived at the main street. Instantly, all the places that indulged in debauchery became lively. Although it was already late at night, to the bustling capital city, the indulgence of the nightlife had just begun. Qin Wushuang and his 2 friends also arrived at the main street. In the capital city of the orderly mountain prefecture, there were 3 or 4 places that were always the most lively regardless of day or night. Among them, the Freelance Martial Artist Union was one of them. In the Xian Yuan Mound, there were many sects and each place had deeply rooted sects and powerhouses. However, regardless of how many sects and powerhouses there were, the number of martial artists was limited. In the Xian Yuan Mound, perhaps the number of martial artists could be counted with hundreds of millions. However, among these freelance martial artists, at most, no more than 30% of them belonged to sects and organizations. Besides them, even if they were in groups of 2 or 3, they were still freelance martial artists. Freelance martial artists did not have sects to rely on and did not have a fixed territory. Compared to the martial artists that had sects to rely on, freelance martial artists were at a disadvantage to a large extent. However, after all, there were very few martial artists that had sects to rely on and were born with a golden spoon in their mouth. In the Tian Xian land, the number of freelance martial artists would always be the highest. Thus, any place, even if it was a little county, as long as there were freelance martial artists, it would be bustling with activity. At this moment, the Freelance Martial Artist Union of the orderly mountain capital city was also bustling with activity. Just as Qin Wushuang and his 2 friends approached the door, they were greeted by an enthusiastic butler. You 3, are you here to sign up? Sign up? Bao Bao was stunned. The deacon smiled and said, So the 3 of you still don't know? Recently, many missions have appeared in the southern Vermilion Bird 9 prefectures. In these few days, the number of freelance martial artists that have come to sign up has broken the threshold. I thought the 3 of you were here for these missions as well. Naturally, these butlers had their reasons for greeting them with such enthusiasm. For each person who signed up, they would receive a fee. Whoever was in charge of receiving them would receive a commission from this fee. If the accepted mission was completed, the commission from the union would also reward the butler in charge of receiving them. Therefore, the deacon on duty spared no effort in recruiting them. Qin Wushuang smiled and said, "What kind of missions are there? If it's attractive, the three of us will definitely consider it." Seeing that there was some progress in this matter, the deacon welcomed Qin Wushuang and the others in with a smile. While he prepared the drinks and snacks, he introduced. Of course, the most popular mission is targeted at the 100-leaf Qin clan. However, this kind of mission needs a big shot to lead and organize it. Qin Wushuang waved his hand. "We three brothers aren't interested in this kind of thing. Are there any other missions?" "Of course there is. There is a mission that has been very popular recently. It's a second-level bounty issued by the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect. The bounty is 80,000 gold crystal stones for a young man named Qin Wushuang." The deacon was beaming with joy as he introduced. "If you sign up here, you can get first-line information and insider information. However, these information are all very confidential, so the registration fee will definitely be relatively expensive. However, this price is definitely worth it." Bao Bao and Lone revealed a faint smile. However, Qin Wushuang took it seriously. "How much is the registration fee?" Not much. For the three of you, it's 100 gold crystal stones each." When Bao Bao heard this, he twisted his brow and slapped the table. "Hey, you think we are rich? For the three of us, 100 gold crystal stones each? Wouldn't it be enough if one of us signed up?" That deacon laughed mischievously and said with a smile, "It seems you three are smart people. To tell you the truth, this mission is very popular recently. Many people have signed up. They all want to get first-hand information from us. You must know that these information were not given by the employer, but collected by the Arranged Mountain Freelance Martial Artist Union. It's definitely first-hand and confidential." "Confidential, my ass." The deacon continued to introduce the information, but he didn't want to annoy a rogue cultivator next to him. The rogue cultivator cursed and shouted, "I really thought it was a secret, but it's all F*King public information, and you still dare to call yourself a first-hand secret. Puh. I say, you three, don't believe his stupid mouth. 100 gold crystal stones would definitely be wasted. If you guys can really take out that human kid, you can fulfill this bounty anywhere. They are wearing sheep's clothing to sell dog meat. They claim to be selling first-hand information, but in fact, they are using this mission to scam money." That deacon glanced at that person embarrassedly and did not act out. After all, this person was not lying. Indeed, the information they had provided was not some exclusive secret. Qin Wushuang smiled lightly at that freelance martial artist. "Brother, thank you for the reminder. Brother, today's expenses will be covered by the three of us." That person waved his hand casually. "Anyways, I don't deserve it. I don't take advantage of others." "May I ask your surname?" Qin Wushuang cupped his hands in a salute and asked. That person was dressed in a black robe that was decorated with snowflakes. His face was stern and resolute like a sharp blade that would not allow people to get close to him. Looking from afar, he gave off a feeling of being 1,000 miles away. That person gave a cold snort and glanced at Qin Wushuang casually. However, he did not answer. Although he only glanced at him, his gaze was as sharp as a blade. If Qin Wushuang did not have a strong temperament, most likely he would have shivered from this glance. Bao Bao twitched his mouth. "Boss, we have money, why would we be afraid of not having a place to spend it? Rather than treating people to drinks, we should drink a few more cups ourselves." Initially, Qin Wushuang wanted to speak. However, as he glanced to the side, he saw a figure sitting quietly at a corner on the right. That person had a calm smile on his face as he drank alone. Although he was only sitting at a corner, he still appeared to be a crane among chickens. That person exchanged glances with Qin Wushuang and smiled lightly. Qin Wushuang was extremely surprised as he also nodded at that person. This person was Jiufang Yunfei. This was the exceptional young man of the Jiufang clan. After the battle where the 100-leaf Qin clan had defeated Chen Sen, he had disappeared without a trace. He did not celebrate with the Qin clan. Qin Wushuang had also felt somewhat disappointed. He admired Jiufang Yunfei's temperament and always wanted to have a chat with this exceptional young man of the Jiufang clan. Unexpectedly, he saw this young man again today. It's him? Bao Bao and Lone were also slightly surprised. Don't speak. Qin Wushuang sent a glance at Bao Bao and Lone and sent his voice to them. Since there were many eyes and ears here, Qin Wushuang was afraid that someone would recognize Jiufang Yunfei and bring unnecessary trouble. After all, many people had witnessed Jiufang Yunfei saving Qin Zhao at the Black Raven Royal City. After the wine had been poured, Qin Wushuang had just lifted a cup to his mouth. Suddenly, a person ran in from outside the hall and shouted, "Good news, good news! Top secret good news! Iron Holler? You have been selling information your entire life. When can you bring out some top-secret information?" Apparently, many freelance martial artists knew this person at the Freelance Martial Artist Union. This person's appearance was very unique. Using the words "shifty-eyed" to describe him was more appropriate. This person's nickname was Iron Holler. He mingled around the orderly mountain prefecture and made a living by selling information. This person was born with a good voice and was good at spreading information. Thus he was called Iron Holler. Only, it was hard to determine whether the information from this person was true or false. Sometimes it was true, and sometimes it was false. This Iron Holler twisted his brows and rolled his eyes. He chuckled. This time, it's top-secret information. Who would believe that you are the only one who can get top-secret information? Ha, it's up to you whether you believe it or not. Anyways, I don't plan to sell it to you. Hey. This Iron Holler grabbed a butler next to him. Butler Wong, if I sell this information to your union, I promise it will be worth a lot. Once you package this information, for sure it will increase in value by 10 times. For this deal, we will both win. Apparently, that Butler Wong did not trust Iron Holler's character as he said with suspicion, "Iron Holler, our union is not going to play dumb with you. If you truly have top-secret information, we can pay for it. But if you spread rumors, you'll be in big trouble." Iron Holler smiled apologetically. "How could I, Butler Wong? If I want to make a living in the orderly mountain prefecture, how could I fool you?" Butler Wong rolled his eyes. "How much do you want?" Iron Holler became interested as he counted with his fingers. "To be honest, I dug out this information through a channel that none of you would have thought of. Behind this information, there is my exclusive analysis, and it's an exclusive inside story." "That's enough, stop." Deacon Wong immediately rejected it. "I have no interest in your exclusive analysis of the so-called inside story. You can sell this information to anyone who wants to buy it. Our union has no use for it." "Don't, Butler Wong." Iron Holler became anxious. "Don't be so absolute. My analysis is built on the basis of reason and evidence. Even if you don't want to buy my second piece of information, this piece of information is the real deal. There is not the slightest bit of analysis in it." Butler Wong only sneered as he did not believe him at all. Iron Holler shouted, Everyone, is there anyone among you that knows the goods? Let me tell you first, my information is related to that mission issued by the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect. This information is definitely an exclusive secret. If it's outdated information, I will have nothing to say even if you kill me on the spot." Even Qin Wushuang put down his wine cup and looked at this Iron Holler. "It's absolutely true. To get this information, I spent thousands of gold crystal stones. For this information, I will not sell it without 2,000 gold crystal stones. Is the information you are talking about related to that Qin Wushuang from the human countries? An indifferent voice sounded from outside the door. Although this voice sounded indifferent, it was filled with the temperament of a ruler. When one heard it, they could not help but feel shock. Iron Holler answered, "Yes, yes. Okay, I'll buy this information. Here are 30 green crystal stones, I'll give you the extra." Next, an object was thrown in. It was a brocade pouch. When he opened it, there were indeed 30 resplendent green crystal stones inside. 30 green crystal stones were worth 3,000 gold crystal stones. It was 1,000 more than Iron Holler's asking price. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 456. This sudden change not only made the spectators look out of the door in astonishment, but even Iron Holler's hand, which was holding the 30 green crystals, couldn't help but tremble slightly. Obviously, he did not expect such a good thing to happen. Qin Wushuang did not know whether to laugh or cry. He did not expect himself to be so valuable. Just a piece of information related to him could be sold at such a high price? What he was more curious about was, who was so concerned about him. Outside the door, a guest with a purple beard walked in with a calm expression. Beside him, there was an expressionless person. This guest with a purple beard had a calm expression. Under the gaze of hundreds of eyes, it was as if he did not feel anything and did not care about those gazes. His follower, on the other hand, had eyes like a sharp knife, scanning the entire place, giving people a feeling of alertness. "Sir, is this money from you?" Iron Holler was obviously not sure. The aura of these two people made Iron Holler, who was used to seeing the world, feel somewhat lacking in confidence. The guest with a purple beard said with a smile, "Just now, the one who wanted to sell information, was it not you?" "Yes, yes." Iron Holler could tell at a glance that this person was not ordinary. His gaze, his action, was very imposing. "Then, is this money enough to buy your information?" "Enough, definitely enough." Iron Holler nodded and bowed. "Say it." The guest with a purple beard waved his hand casually. "Say it here?" Iron Holler had a face of astonishment. "Don't you want to find another remote place? Since you paid the price, I have to tell it to you alone." "There's no need, say it here. I'll pay, and everyone will share the information." The guest with a purple beard smiled naturally. Iron Holler had sold information for half his life, and had been doing this for dozens of years. He had never met such a buyer, who would pay to share information with everyone. The person beside the guest with a purple beard frowned. "What's wrong? I asked you to say it, so say it." Iron Holler suddenly realized and hurriedly nodded. Good, good, good. I'll say it. This information really came at the right time. If I say that I'm the source of this information, you may believe me." Iron Holler's words were obviously a warm-up. It could attract people's attention. It had to be said that his plan was effective. Obviously, Iron Holler also wanted to make good use of this news to build up his reputation in this circle. Therefore, when he talked about this matter, he seemed to be very serious. "The source of my information came from the Dispersed Praying Mountain." "What kind of place is the Dispersed Praying Mountain?" "That is the barrier between the human countries and the Xian Yuan Mound. In the Dispersed Praying Mountain, there are a total of 3 major powerhouses. They are the Monkey Clan of the Monkey King Mountain, the Deep Abyss Barbarians, and the 8 Great Bandits of the Red Maple Human Clan. I say, Iron Holler, can't you make it short? Can you cut the crap?" Some of the people present were unhappy. Obviously, they couldn't stand Iron Holler's way of whetting their appetites and couldn't help but urge him. Iron Holler rolled his eyes. "I say, sir, the ones who bought my information are these 2 old men. You didn't pay for it, so why are you rushing me? If you want to listen to it fast, you have to pay." After he finished speaking, he smiled at the purple-bearded man in an ingratiating manner. "Sir, please don't laugh at me. If he spoke about this matter too quickly, he might miss out on important information. I must go through the entire sequence of events. This way, it would show that the information is accurate and worthy of your generous reward. Speak slowly, don't be in a rush. The more detailed the better." Naturally, Iron Holler was even more proud when he received his employer's approval. He cleared his throat and rolled his eyes at that person. Then, he said with a smile, "Regarding the origin of the 8 great bandits of the Red Maple, most likely, those who understand the story would know. They are a group of prisoners from the Xian Yuan Mound who escaped to the dispersed Praying Mountain to settle down. After generations, they became the Red Maple Human Clan. This Red Maple Human Clan was bewitched by the barbarian tribe as they coveted the foundation of the Monkey Clan at the Monkey King Mountain. Haha, everyone pay attention. Here, we are starting to get to the main point. Initially, when the Red Maple Human Clan and the barbarian tribe worked together, it would be easy to deal with the Monkey Clan. However, at this time, the headquarters of the Red Maple Human Clan and the barbarian tribe were ambushed. The ambushers were extremely vicious as they directly destroyed the temples of the barbarian tribe and the Red Maple Human Clan. Initially, the main force of the Red Maple Human Clan and the barbarian tribe was attacking the Monkey King Mountain. After they learned of this news, they had no choice but to return to defend. During the process of returning to defend, the Red Maple Human Clan encountered a calamity of extermination. They were surrounded by powerful powerhouses from both left and right. All the direct descendants of the 8 great bandits of the Red Maple Human Clan were executed. Do you guys know why the Monkey Clan that was on the verge of extinction suddenly came back from the dead and had the power to fight back? All of this is related to one person. Qin Wushuang. Is it Qin Wushuang? Instantly, his words touched the nerves of many people. They all realized that Iron Holler was going to highlight the main topic by beating around the bush. Iron Holler smiled with satisfaction and said seriously, "That's right, it's this Qin Wushuang. Perhaps, with your information, you know the background of this Qin Wushuang, his growth, and the grudges between him and the 9 Palace faction of the Red Dragon Empire. You also know why the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect wanted to kill Qin Wushuang. However, do you know? Qin Wushuang has a close relationship with the Monkey Clan of the Monkey King Mountain. Initially, to save his teacher, Qin Wushuang had traveled tens of thousands of miles to the Monkey King Mountain and received a great favor from them. Thus, he offered his plan to help the Monkey Clan. Next to Qin Wushuang, there are 2 spiritual beasts with superior strength. This also ensured that they could split into 2 groups to sneak attack the headquarters of the barbarian tribe and the Red Maple Human Clan. When the guest with the purple beard heard up to this point, he was somewhat impressed as he said in a low voice, "Hearing your words, this Qin Wushuang does have some wisdom. With their frail strength, they would not have much chance of winning if they went to the Monkey King Mountain directly. Then, they would sneak attack their headquarters and lure them back to help. Then, they would catch one of the Red Maple Human Clan and chase after them. Indeed, this is the best method. Only, does that Qin Wushuang truly have such exceptional strength?" Iron Holler said with a smile, "This is absolutely true. I got this information from someone who had participated in that battle. At that time, they only killed the direct descendants of the 8 great bandits of the Red Maple Human Clan and did not kill anyone else. Most of the people of the Red Maple Human Clan had scattered to the human countries. I spent a tremendous amount of effort to find someone who had personally experienced that battle through many layers of connections and found out the truth." When Qin Wushuang heard Iron Holler's narration earlier, it was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. Naturally, he was somewhat curious. Now that he heard Iron Holler's words, he knew the reason. So this was how he got his information. Hey, Iron Holler, you've said so much without any basis, but you still haven't told me what cultivation level that Qin Wushuang has. Iron Holler laughed sinisterly. This is not within the scope of my information. If you want to know, you can ask for a separate fee. The follower beside the guest with the purple beard glared. Are you trying to raise the price? Being glared at, Iron Holler's entire body trembled. He hurriedly waved his hand and shook his head. No, no. If you ask, I will tell you everything I know. Then tell me. Regarding that Qin Wushuang, I heard that his strength is only at the perfect stage. Of course, such strength is not worth mentioning in our Xian Yuan Mound. However, there are always unspeakable variables on this kid. Usually, he would win by surprise and make people who are a few levels ahead of him suffer a great loss. According to my estimation, for sure, people at the refined void martial stage would die when they meet him. Only death awaits a refined void martial stage when encountering a perfect stage. Iron Holler, are you bullshitting? This does not conform to common sense. Everyone knew that the refined void martial stage was only one level higher than the perfect stage. However, this one level was a leap and a fatal difference. It was a substantial difference. After all, these belonged to two completely different categories. The void martial stage meant that one possessed a lot of divine power. Regardless of how strong one was at the spiritual martial force, they would only possess the strength within the spiritual martial force. At least, they would not possess divine power. Even if there were 10 perfect stage warriors, they would not be worth mentioning before a refined void martial stage. Thus, when Iron Holler said it this way, everyone felt it was too fake. It had overturned their common sense. How could they not swear? On the other hand, the guest with the purple beard only smiled and did not speak. Although this matter sounded strange, at his level, he was used to it. Apparently, Iron Holler had deliberately flattered this guest with the purple beard as he explained that Qin Wushuang has a powerful bow and arrow. When he was only at the middle stage, he could injure a perfect stage warrior. And next to him, there are two ferocious spiritual beasts. I heard that at least one of them has entered the refined void martial stage. With such combat power, not to mention one elite warrior at the refined void martial stage, even 2 or 3 of them would suffer. Hearing Iron Holler's explanation, those freelance martial artists had finally understood. Inwardly, each of them started to make their own plans. They also started to weigh their own strength. Apparently, those freelance martial artists at the spiritual martial force had already decided to retreat. And those freelance martial artists at the refined void martial stage had already started to think about how to form a clique to take this mission. Iron Holler chuckled. Each of you think that the heavenly Luo Taoist sect would not settle accounts? Do you think it's easy to earn 80,000 gold crystal stones? This way, only elite warriors at the transformation void martial stage could take down this Qin Wushuang. For this money, ordinary people would not be able to earn it. Darn it, 80,000 gold crystal stones is not a lot to invite elite warriors at the transformation void martial stage. Initially, I thought that the heavenly Luo Taoist sect was generous. It seems that they are very calculating. Iron Holler said proudly. Don't blame me for not reminding you. For sure, this bounty will increase. Without 150,000, you will not be able to mobilize the enthusiasm of elite warriors at the transformation void martial stage. Qin Wushuang kept listening, yet his mood was as calm as water. It was as if he was listening to news that was completely unrelated to him. Heavenly Luo Taoist sect, Qin Wushuang silently chewed on these 4 words. At the same time, he knew clearly that behind these 4 words, for sure, it was a dead knot that would not rest until one of them died. A public pursuit. This was a form of attitude. Although Qin Wushuang was easygoing, it did not mean that he would resign himself to adversity. Although he was enduring silently, it did not mean that he did not have a temper. He was enduring silently because he was waiting for an opportunity to explode. This heavenly Luo Daoist sect had gone too far by pursuing him all over the world. Imperceptibly, this had stimulated Qin Wushuang's fighting spirit and bravery. It had also stimulated the stubbornness and unyielding nature in his bones. Humph, not to mention 80,000, even if it was 1,000,000 bounty, why would I, Qin Wushuang, fear it? Inwardly, Qin Wushuang thought proudly. Again, the surge of passion in his bones boiled up. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 457. Since Qin Wushuang had stepped onto the path of martial arts, he had been tempered into steel and was indomitable. The more setbacks he faced, the braver he became. The stronger the enemy, the more tyrannical they were, the more he could stimulate his potential and deal with them. Starting from the wealthy Su family, more than 1 or 2 powerhouses wanted to step on Qin Wushuang's head. The wealthy Su family, the Shi Men feudal lords, the West Chu, the Great Wu, the Devil Boy, the Archaic Mysteries sect, the 9 Palace faction. There were too many to mention. However, none of them could make Qin Wushuang yield, not to mention destroying Qin Wushuang's belief. Currently, the heavenly Luo Daoist sect was a giant figure that could not be offended. However, Qin Wushuang would not be scared by this giant figure, and would not tremble before it. He only had one belief: regardless of the height of the mountain, as long as he had confidence and strategy, he would be able to cross it. As long as he had perseverance and the means, he would be able to flatten it. Earlier, he had thought that the heavenly Luo Daoist sect would not go to war for Emir's Watiansi. However, thinking about it now, he had overestimated the tolerance of the heavenly Luo Daoist sect. From the way the heavenly Luo Daoist sect kept increasing the bounty, apparently, they wanted to get their hands on Qin Wushuang. On the first day that Qin Wushuang had arrived in this world, he had understood the cruelty of the struggles in this world. The fights between little martial arts students would not stop until one of them died. Not to mention the level of the major powerhouses in the Xian Yuan Mound. So what if they would not stop until one of them died? Since he had stepped onto the path of martial arts, when had he not fought to rise from the jaws of death? Only when he did not hesitate to die could he truly achieve a strong heart and an indestructible belief. The heavenly Luo Daoist sect was going to fight. When he saw Bao Bao and Lone becoming restless, Qin Wushuang used his eyes to stop their impulse. Now, he was most curious about the identity of this guest with the purple beard. From this guest with the purple beard, he felt a form of unfathomable strength. Although this strength was not as unfathomable as Li Bai, nor as unfathomable as Senior Yun Xueqin, without a doubt, he had surpassed all the elite warriors Qin Wushuang had met besides those two. The calmest one was Jiufang Yunfei. The young man continued to drink his wine, as if he had turned a deaf ear to the conversation. He had no interest in the reward at all. However, inadvertently, Jiufang Feiyun's eyes would look towards Qin Wushuang. Evidently, Jiufang Feiyun naturally knew of Qin Wushuang's identity. Of course, Qin Wushuang knew that since this Jiufang Yunfei was an old friend of the heavenly Emperor Qin clan, he would not betray him at this moment. The guest with the purple beard stroked his long beard and said with a smile, "I heard that the heavenly Luo Daoist sect once sent a disciple to the human countries. Do you know about this matter?" Since Iron Holler had received benefits, he naturally would not hide it. He smiled and said, "This is no longer news. Customer, you must have come from a faraway place for the first time. Otherwise, how could you not have heard of this? Although it's old news, it must be more detailed coming from the mouth of someone like you who sells information. Tell me about it." That 9 Palace faction is hosted by the nephew of an elder of the heavenly Luo Daoist sect. In fact, they should be a branch of the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. It's reasonable for the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect to intervene. Initially, that disciple at the refined void martial stage sent by the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect had already grasped the situation. Unexpectedly, a person came out and forced that disciple at the refined void martial stage to retreat. The guest with the purple beard smiled. Apparently, he was interested in this topic. Continue. That person is a girl, a young girl. As for her exact identity, no accurate information has spread out. Without a doubt, that girl must be a disciple of a major powerhouse in the Xian Yuan Mound. Or else, she would not have the strength to stop that person of the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. The guest with the purple beard frowned slightly. Is it true that no one knows the exact identity of that girl? Iron Holler chuckled, and a trace of imperceptible craftiness flashed across his face. He shook his head. No one really knows. You are lying. The guest with the purple beard said lightly. A moment ago, there was a trace of strange change in your smile. This is a sign of lying. This guest with the purple beard saw through everything clearly. Inadvertently, he had exposed Iron Holler's lie. Cold sweat emerged from Iron Holler's entire body. The expression of that subordinate next to the guest with the purple beard turned cold. Speak the truth. Iron Holler nodded with a guilty conscience. That girl should be Miss Murong Su of the Floating Snow House. That subordinate looked at the guest with the purple beard and took a step back. He nodded and did not speak another word. Didn't you say that no one knows her identity? The guest with the purple beard asked lightly. Cold sweat emerged from Iron Holler's forehead. This is only a guess, there is no concrete evidence. Suddenly, the guest with the purple beard laughed freely. Don't be nervous. Earlier, you said that behind this information, there is another guess of yours. Why don't you tell everyone? Inwardly, Iron Holler felt troubled. Speak. The voice of the guest with the purple beard did not sound rushed. However, such light words made Iron Holler not dare to disobey. Sir, initially, I wanted to sell this information for money. Who asked you to be a knowledgeable person? Iron Holler had a long face and was extremely unwilling in his heart. However, under the inadvertent intimidation of the purple-bearded guest, he still obediently submitted and did not dare to disobey. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was puzzled. Just who was this guest with the purple beard, and why was he so interested in him, Qin Wushuang? Of course, he also wanted to hear what other shocking words this Iron Holler had to say. Iron Holler swallowed a mouthful of saliva and worked hard to say, in fact, my guess is also related to the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. The expression of the guest with the purple beard was as calm as an ancient well without a single ripple. He listened quietly. Since it was related to the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect, naturally, Qin Wushuang was more concerned. He wanted to see how many tricks this Heavenly Luo Taoist sect could play. According to common sense, even if a young man from the human countries had good talent to the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect, how much of a threat could he pose? Iron Holler's words had resonated with everyone. Indeed, everyone found it strange. With the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect's position in the Xian Yuan Mound, how could they make such a big fuss? They appeared to be flustered and exasperated when they issued a second-level assassination order against a young man from the human countries. Could there be some inside story? Even Qin Wushuang felt curious. He wanted to hear what exclusive opinion this Iron Holler had on this matter. I thought about it and thought that this matter might be related to that Miss Mu Rong. Iron Holler spoke astonishing words. Many people know that there is a marriage contract between the Floating Snow House and the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. The main character of the marriage contract is Miss Mu Rong of the Floating Snow House. On the other hand, it is young Master Luo Ting, one of the most exceptional young disciples of the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. And 1 or 2 years ago, when the marriage contract was about to end, Miss Mu Rong ran away from home. Many people had heard about these gossips in the Jianghu. Now, when Iron Holler had brought it up and brought up the old matter, they had some impression of it. Those who had not heard about these gossips started to inquire from the people next to them. Apparently, they were extremely interested in this matter. Think about it, why did that Miss Mu Rong run away from home? Of course, she ran away from the marriage. Why did she run away from the marriage? Apparently, she did not want to marry that young Master Luo Ting. Or in other words, she did not want to get married. Regardless of the reason, to young Master Luo Ting, it was a great humiliation. When his fiancée ran away from home when the marriage contract was about to end, not to mention that young Master Luo Ting is a famous young talent in the Xian Yuan Mound, even us mediocre martial artists would feel uncomfortable, right? Everyone nodded thoughtfully. Even Qin Wushuang came to a realization when he heard these words, that Miss Mu Rong had left the Xian Yuan Mound for this reason and ventured into the human countries. What this Iron Holler means, could it be that second-level assassination order is related to that young Master Luo Ting? When Qin Wushuang thought here, he could not help but feel somewhat surprised. The guest with the purple beard only smiled. However, within this smile, there was a trace of something different, and that subordinate next to him kept sneering. On the other hand, Jiufang Yunfei suddenly revealed a strange faint smile on the corner of his mouth. It was as if he had discovered something interesting. Qin Wushuang was extremely sensitive. Soon, he felt that something was wrong with this atmosphere. Keep talking. The guest with the purple beard shot an indifferent glance at Iron Holler. I know you still have things to say. Iron Holler was a smart person. At this moment, he also felt that something was wrong. However, since he was riding a tiger, he could not get off. He could only continue to speak. That Qin Wushuang did not return to the human countries after annihilating the Red Maple human clan. All signs indicated that they had already entered the Xian Yuan Mound. Most importantly, don't forget, this is Qin Wushuang's surname. Surname Qin. Heavenly Emperor Qin clan? No way, that Qin Wushuang, could he be the descendant of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan? It's impossible to be such a coincidence. The sound of discussion rose and fell one after another. Apparently, Iron Holler's heavy news had caused chaos at the scene. If he is a disciple of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan, then I must respect him. I have lived for most of my life, and I have never submitted to any powerhouse. I only submit to the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. Yes, if that's the case, I will not get involved. If it's for money, I would have signed up to deal with the 100-Leaf Qin clan. I will never get involved in matters related to the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. Apparently, the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan had a good reputation. Half of the freelance martial artists at the scene had expressed their stance. If Qin Wushuang was truly related to the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan, they would rather give up on this mission than to earn money that went against their conscience. Once, the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan was the symbol of the Xian Yuan Mound. It represented fairness and justice. In the history of the Xian Yuan Mound, it was the powerhouse with the highest reputation among the people. Now, that guest with the purple beard and his subordinate stood up. Suddenly, the guest with the purple beard said with a smile, "Is the butler of the Union here?" "Sir, at your service." A butler walked over. "I will also issue a mission. I will offer a reward of 100,000 gold crystal stones. Those who provide me with clues about Qin Wushuang and help me find Qin Wushuang will receive 100,000 gold crystal stones. Remember, my reward is different than the Heavenly Luo Taoist sect. They want a dead person, and I want to see a living person." When the guest with the purple beard said here, he laughed and turned to speak to his subordinate. "Wu De, you will be in charge of contacting him, I will leave first." Of course, this guest with the purple beard was Mu Rong Qianji, the lord of the floating snow house. and his subordinate was his trusted subordinate, Wu De. Qin Wushuang had also not expected this sudden move from the guest with the purple beard. As he watched the departing figure of the guest with the purple beard, Qin Wushuang could not help but fall into deep thought. He felt that this situation had become even more complicated and confusing. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 458. After Mu Rongqianji left, everyone present was intimidated by his powerful aura. The originally noisy hall immediately became much quieter. These loose cultivators who were originally very noisy had now turned into whispers. They lowered their heads and whispered to each other. It was very obvious that they were also very afraid of the followers Mu Rongqianji had left behind. Although no one present knew Mu Rongqianji, some of the more active ones who had been in the underworld for a long time already had some ideas in their hearts. After the procedures were completed, Wu De walked out from inside and walked to Iron Holler's side. He stared at Iron Holler for a while and laughed strangely. He then turned around and walked out of the door in large strides. This action caused Iron Holler to break out in cold sweat. His hand trembled slightly and the hand that was holding the wine cup couldn't help but tremble. He faintly realized that although this business seemed to have earned him 3,000 gold crystal stones, it seemed to have caused a huge disaster. Just as he was about to say something to remedy the situation, how could Wu De care about a small character like Iron Holler? He had already left without a trace. Iron Holler dejectedly sat back in his seat with a distressed face. Around him, the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. It was obvious that these people had been suppressed for too long. Now that the crisis was over, they finally dared to breathe loudly. Someone saw Iron Holler's distressed face and couldn't help but ridicule. "Iron Holler, what happened to you? You've made a windfall. Can you pay for today's wine?" "That's right. Even if you pay for everyone's wine tonight, you'll still earn." "That's right, that's right. Since you've made a windfall, it wouldn't be right if you don't treat us." These people all started to jeer. Iron Holler, on the other hand, had a sullen face. His mouth couldn't stop muttering to himself. No one knew what he was muttering. At this time, a cold voice suddenly sounded. "It's hard to say whether you'll earn or not. This money isn't that easy to get. If you're not careful, you'll lose both your life and your money." The one who spoke was the loose cultivator who had previously accused the attendant of deceiving Qin Wushuang and the others. He was the one who refused Qin Wushuang's treat. This person's expression was cold. When he spoke without restraint. Unexpectedly, his words hit the nail on the head. Iron Holler's face was deathly pale as he gritted his teeth. "Haha, Iron Holler, look at your cowardly appearance. Are you really scared to this extent? Don't tell me you don't want to treat me, so you're deliberately acting like this." These itinerant cultivators spoke one after another. The cold rogue cultivator from before, however, smiled coolly. "I'm not pretending. If you say that he is faking it, then you are the ones who are confused." "This Iron Holler knows more than you do." Jiu Fang Yunfei suddenly smiled and put down the cup in his hand. "Bill." He casually put down a few crystals and pointed at Qin Wushuang's table. "I'll settle the accounts of the three friends at that table." After he finished speaking, he cupped his hands toward Qin Wushuang, smiled, and walked out without greeting him. Qin Wushuang was stunned. Just as he was about to stand up, he heard the cold rogue cultivator next to him continue speaking. "The one who walked out just now is an understanding person. A truly understanding person should leave after drinking the wine in the wine pot." Saying this, the cold rogue cultivator also slapped the table. "Waiter Bill. Hey you, what do you mean by only saying half of what you want to say? If you have something to say, say it out loud. Why are you playing riddles with us?" That's right. We brothers are all boorish people. We don't understand your tone. That cold rogue cultivator walked to the door and suddenly turned around. He smiled strangely. Don't tell me you still don't understand? Iron Holler knew better than anyone else the background of those two people just now. He had already planned to cover up his lie and talk back. But that kind of expert could see through Iron Holler's thoughts and point out that he was lying. Iron Holler, if I were you, I would have left already. But whether or not I can leave. Before this person could finish speaking, a cold laugh came from outside the door. He can't leave. Before the voice died away, 3 to 5 well-equipped warriors rushed in from outside the door. Their attire fully revealed their identities. The personal warriors of the prefecture master. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that these 4 people were not to be trifled with. They all shut their mouths at the same time. The cold rogue cultivator from before shook his head helplessly. His face was expressionless as he looked at these warriors with some ridicule and mockery. Then, he walked out. You wait a moment too. That cold rogue cultivator's eyes flashed. He held his saber horizontally in front of his chest. What? You want me to stay too? This person's tone was arrogant and unyielding, but he didn't show the slightest fear. The leader of the 4 warriors saw that this person's aura was not ordinary. Although he wasn't afraid, he sized him up and knew that this person was not someone to be trifled with. He immediately waved his hand. Although this person is talking nonsense, he didn't offend the honored guest. Only this Iron Holler can't control his mouth and offended the honored guest. Take him down first. Iron Holler's expression changed. He suddenly dodged under the table. An earthy yellow light was released from his body, and he fled underground. This was clearly not an escape technique. Instead, it was using a talisman to travel underground to escape. When the leader of the warriors saw this, he sneered and said with a smile, "Insignificant skill." With a shake of his sleeve, he opened his 5 fingers. A huge handprint emerged from his palm and continuously enlarged, pressing down on the ground with a loud rumble. With this pressure, the ground suddenly shook. It was as if the entire ground had suddenly collapsed, shaking endlessly. It was also this pressure that was an invisible talisman. It was specially used to restrain ordinary underground technique. It reached the effect of pointing at the ground as steel, making it difficult for those who used underground techniques to move an inch underground. When his hand was revealed, a warrior behind him immediately took out a strange instrument. Its appearance was like a compass, and he placed it on the ground. There! Following the direction pointed by this person, the leader of the warriors suddenly swept out like a gust of wind, leaving behind afterimages in the air. Suddenly, the leader of the warriors shouted loudly and stabbed the short spear in his hand into the ground with all his strength. Only a miserable cry could be heard from the ground. Following the momentum of the short spear being pulled out, an arrow of blood soared into the sky, shooting straight towards the ceiling of the Union. When this arrow of blood dispersed, it immediately scattered a rain of blood, shooting in all directions. Fortunately, everyone present was an expert. When they saw the rain of blood shooting towards them, they casually waved their sleeves and swept away the rain of blood, preventing it from contaminating their bodies. Qin Wushuang and the other 2 had been sitting there the whole time, watching the entire process of this unforeseen event. Could it be that the warriors under the Mansion Lord were relying on the power of the government to kill without restraint like this? When the leader of the warriors killed a person, it was as if he was stepping on an ant. From his expression, it was impossible to tell that he had killed a person. Instead, he said casually to the manager in charge of the Union, "Mr. Manager, I will have to trouble you to clean up." However, the expression of that manager did not look good as he mumbled, "Captain Ku, this Iron Holler has always made a living by selling information. He has been in this business for a few dozen years. I don't know what kind of mistake he has made, to be met with such an unexpected disaster today. Besides, if you are going to enforce the law, please take this iron holler away. It's not proper to enforce the law in my union's territory, right? That Captain Ku's eyelids twitched lazily as he shot a glance at that manager. This way, do you have any objections? Captain Ku, my union has always been a place where freelance martial artists appear. If you want to enforce the law in the union, you should at least ask clearly, right? After all, this is still the union's territory. Ha ha ha, the union's territory. That Captain Ku's tone was extremely unreasonable and tyrannical. Let me tell you, in the Orderly Mountain Prefecture, there is no one's territory, only the territory of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. After he had finished, he waved his hand and walked outside. This rude and unreasonable attitude left the deacon in charge of the guild speechless. What else could he do when encountering such a crab that walks sideways? Even if he was right, it would not be as powerful as his fist. The other party was right. Within the Orderly Mountain Prefecture, only the territory of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture belonged to the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. Not many people had the power to resist the prefecture lord of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. Strangely, that callous freelance martial artist who had already walked to the door did not take the opportunity to leave. Instead, he stood on the side with his arms crossed and watched everything with a cold look. That Captain Ku walked to the door and shot a glance at this person. What? If we don't cause you trouble, you won't leave? That person gave a cold sneer and sneered. Such prestige, such strong murderous intent. No wonder you are the personal warrior of the prefecture lord, admirable. That Captain Ku was also a person who knew how to judge the situation. He knew that he would not gain any advantage from this person. He only sneered. Don't say that we are bullying people. Since that iron holler could not control his mouth, he deserved to die. No one can blame him. I am afraid that your flattery has hit the wrong spot. You think that iron holler offended the VIP. Even if the VIP thinks this way with their temperament, they might not want iron holler's life. You guys are in such a hurry to curry favor. Captain Ku said unhappily. From your tone, it seems that you want to fight for justice for iron holler. Qin Wushuang had a good impression of that callous freelance martial artist. At this moment, he stepped out to mediate. Everyone, you have killed him and shown off your power. It's about enough. In this freelance martial artist union, there are many hot-blooded men. You guys are not determined to offend the public, right? Qin Wushuang was the first to step out. Immediately, a few freelance martial artists also stepped out. Yes, even the personal warriors of the prefecture lord must be reasonable. Could it be that we freelance martial artists deserve to be beaten and killed? That's right, even if we bring this matter to the prefecture lord, we can seek justice. That Captain Ku glanced at Qin Wushuang, but stopped while he was ahead. He really did not have the courage to do something that would offend the public. He waved his hand and said a few harsh words. Let's end it here today. You guys better watch your mouth. Say what you should say, and don't spread rumors about what you shouldn't say. After saying that, he quickly retreated. This sudden bloodbath had brought the guild's loose practitioners closer to each other. What the hell is going on? Just saying a few words and we will lose our lives. Do we freelance martial artists really have no status? Isn't that right? What is the background of that purple-bearded guest? Iron Holler said a few words to him and he offended the VIP? The callous rogue cultivator sneered at the door. This isn't the problem of the esteemed guest. It's just that these fellows are trying to flatter the esteemed guest. In the end, who is that person? You still don't understand? That lord is obviously related to the people that Iron Holler mentioned. What do you mean by related? That's because you guys are ignorant and inexperienced. That person is the master of the floating snow house, an elite warrior ranked in the top 50 of the Xian Yuan Mound. Even the prefecture lord wants to curry favor with him, Mu Rong Qianji. As soon as he said these words, Qin Wushuang was shocked inwardly. All the guesses in his mind had been confirmed. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 459. Mu Rong Qianji. This time, even Bao Bao was greatly surprised. The floating snow house shared some relationship with the monkey clan. However, Bao Bao did not know this master Mu Rong Qianji. Boss, it's the master of the floating snow house. He put a bounty on you? Where did this come from? Bao Bao sent his voice to ask. Of course, Qin Wushuang did not have a clue. Could it be because Qin Wushuang had that relationship with Miss Mu Rong? If that was the case, then the floating snow house's housemaster was truly going too far. While the guild was filled with clamorous discussions, Qin Wushuang did not want to linger any longer. He put down the wine cup and left quickly with Bao Bao and Lone. With the disturbance between the heavenly Luo Daoist sect and the floating snow house, Qin Wushuang's path in the Xian Yuan Mound had become much more difficult. Currently, he did not know whether to thank Captain Ku for killing that talkative iron hauler, or to condemn him for killing the innocent. To Qin Wushuang, that conversation with Iron Hauler was extremely disadvantageous. It was because Iron Hauler had clearly said that Qin Wushuang had already entered the Xian Yuan Mound and was related to the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. This way, without a doubt, they would face another layer of potential danger when they traveled the Xian Yuan Mound. To Qin Wushuang, this was definitely a great trouble. When they returned to the inn, Bao Bao was still chattering endlessly. Apparently, he was still brooding over Mu Rong Qianji's bounty. From Bao Bao's point of view, without a doubt, Mu Rong Qianji's actions were rubbing salt on Qin Wushuang's wound. Lone also swore. He could not watch over his own daughter and took out his anger on our boss. Perhaps this master of the floating snow house has a high strength. However, in terms of being a person, he has no principles. Bao Bao mumbled. Boss, why do you think this Lord Mu Rong is doing this? Could it be because Sister Mu Rong is close to you? Lone twitched his mouth. How is it close? Nothing happened between our boss and Miss Mu Rong, right? I also think so. Could it be that Lord Mu Rong had done this to prove to the heavenly Luo Daoist sect? If that's the case, then Lord Mu Rong is too disappointing. What a disappointment! Bullying the kind and fearing the evil. Qin Wushuang listened to their endless discussion and tried to explain. You too, don't be so hasty to come to a conclusion. From what I can see, Miss Mu Rong's father doesn't have much hostility. If he is hostile, he only needs to add some additional rewards on top of the heavenly Luo Daoist sect's reward. These words did remind Bao Bao. He thought quickly and slapped his thigh. That's right. Lord Mu Rong kept saying that he wanted to see the living person. From the looks of it, he doesn't intend to die of old age. When he said here, Bao Bao laughed strangely. Boss, I understand. Perhaps Lord Mu Rong also wants to see your character and cultivation? Choosing a son-in-law. As soon as Lone heard this, his gossipy heart suddenly overflowed. His face moved closer like a gossipy woman. Qin Wushuang said angrily, No matter what you say, it's all because of your mouths. Can you guys talk less? Of course, it's not impossible to talk less. However, since you have a mouth, wouldn't it be a waste if you don't talk? Boss, honestly, let me ask you, how do you feel about Miss Mu Rong? For this extremely gossipy question, not only was Bao Bao deeply curious, even Lone also moved closer. He waited for Qin Wushuang's answer while worrying about personal gains and losses. Qin Wushuang heard them repeatedly talking about Miss Mu Rong's voice and appearance, as well as her extraordinary demeanor. He must say that regardless of talent, martial arts, appearance, or temperament, Qin Wushuang had never seen this Miss Mu Rong in his life. Now, he had learned that this Miss Murong had gone out to escape the marriage. On top of appreciation, Qin Wushuang could not help but feel some admiration. One had to know that for a girl to have such courage, it was very impressive in this world. "Boss, say something," Bao Bao urged with a smile. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. "Miss Murong and I only have a gentleman's friendship. In terms of Miss Murong, she is indeed the best girl I've ever seen. But if I were to say that I have a deeper affection for her, then that would be rude." "Boss!" Bao Bao was almost driven mad. "Then do you like her? Or do you not like her? Can you be more direct?" Qin Wushuang was speechless at Bao Bao's simple logic. Could it be that, in this world, there were only two choices, like and dislike? "Boss, I know what you want to say. However, I will ask you now, if there are only two choices, like and dislike, how would you choose?" This question was straight to his heart. It made it impossible for Qin Wushuang to be ambiguous. After thinking about it, Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. "Then let's just like her. For a beauty like Miss Murong, who would say they don't like her?" "Haha, then it's easy. I see that Miss Murong also has a good impression of you. Boss Wushuang, I think that heavenly Luo Daoist sect has gone too far. Let's just steal their wife. Let's anger them to death. That's right, since the heavenly Luo Daoist sect wants to kill you, let's slap their face. The louder the slap, the better." Apparently, Lone was the one who desired to see the world in chaos. At this moment, it would be strange if he did not jeer. "Boss, don't hesitate. Let's do it this way. Miss Murong's character and strength are all high, and she is as beautiful as a flower. Where are you going to find such a good girl?" "Haha, I think it will work. It's good this way. The most important thing is to let the heavenly Luo Daoist sect know our boss's power." Lone cheered from the side. These two buffoons, one after the other, were discussing enthusiastically. It was as if they were discussing their marriage. Qin Wushuang felt deeply speechless. He admitted that regardless of how he looked at it, that Miss Murong held a special weight in Qin Wushuang's heart. This weight was completely different from other girls. To senior sister Zhou Fu, Qin Wushuang felt a sense of camaraderie. To Tong Yao, it was a pure friendship that had gone through hardship. Although they had met by chance, each of Miss Murong's movements had touched a certain string deep inside Qin Wushuang's heart. Qin Wushuang had never thought deeply about it. However, he also knew that it was a completely different feeling. Now, after Bao Bao and Lone had dug it out, Qin Wushuang was surprised to find that the image of Miss Murong had suddenly come alive in his heart. When they had first met, that heavenly sound of the zither, that natural and unrestrained behavior. Then, Miss Murong had helped him out of trouble several times. She had also shown a side of her that was not only gentle and virtuous. Now, after hearing about Miss Murong's background, those fragments of her past kept intertwining. Instantly, in his mind, Miss Murong had become much more three-dimensional. Indeed, this girl that was soft on the outside and tough on the inside had an outstanding temperament. When he thought here, Qin Wushuang could not help but give a light sigh. "Boss, why are you sighing?" Bao Bao asked with a faint smile. "The situation is difficult. Regardless of me, or the entire Qin family, we are all in an abyss of suffering. If I spend so much time thinking about these matters, without a doubt, I would be worrying myself for nothing." When Qin Wushuang said here, he had regained his calmness. He said, "From now on, this topic ends here. Regardless of 100,000 or 1,000,000, it will not stop me from heading to the heavenly Emperor Mountain. I only know that the more difficult the obstacles blocking my path, the stronger my heart will be. Boss, then, Bao Bao, I will remember Miss Murong's kindness. If one day we can truly make a name for ourselves in the Xian Yuan Mound, all of our problems will be solved. Now, even if we break our heads, it would be useless. With our strength, we are powerless to get involved in this whirlpool. We only have one goal right now, and that is, to become stronger, to keep becoming stronger. Bao Bao and Lone were infected by Qin Wushuang's determined attitude as they nodded. Boss, you are right, we will all listen to you. Xian Yuan moaned, just wait. One day, the name of us three brothers will become the legends of the Xian Yuan mound. After they had unified their thoughts, Qin Wushuang was no longer confused. Even if the outside world was in an uproar, everyone was discussing how to deal with Qin Wushuang. However, how could these people know that Qin Wushuang was right under their eyes? Was he going to watch their ugly performances one by one? Qin Wushuang also knew that this orderly mountain prefecture was located at the border between the dispersed Praying Mountain and the Xian Yuan Mound. Thus, naturally, the topic of Qin Wushuang would become more lively. It was because if Qin Wushuang wanted to enter the Xian Yuan Mound, he must pass through this orderly mountain prefecture. Thus, he should not linger at this orderly mountain prefecture for too long. On the second day, Qin Wushuang and his two friends had paid the bill. Just as they were walking out of the inn, Qin Wushuang's sharp eyes saw a figure flash across the street in a hurry. That person just happened to look at the inn. Apparently, he was also astonished when he saw Qin Wushuang and his two friends. It's him. Qin Wushuang's heart sank. Fortunately, after that person had glanced at them, he did not look at them any longer. He quickened his steps and flashed across the street and disappeared into the crowd. General Manager Su. Apparently, Bao Bao and Lone also recognized this person. This guy is not dead. Bao Bao's expression was extremely unsightly. He was smart and knew that the situation was not good when he saw this General Manager Su. Boss, what should we do? Let's leave first and find a place to change our appearance. This General Manager Su is extremely suspicious. The outside world is spreading the news that Chen Sen's group was completely annihilated. Now, he must have many guesses when he sees us. If he guesses any clues, we will be in big trouble. Bao Bao and Lone agreed deeply. The three of them did not linger and walked quickly towards the outside of the city gate. The process of leaving the city was much simpler than entering the city. After Qin Wushuang and his two friends left the orderly mountain capital city, they headed north without stopping. After the commotion caused by Iron Holler, with General Manager Su's suspicious and cunning nature, it would not be impossible for him to guess Qin Wushuang's identity once he combined the three of them and the battle with the 100-leaf Qin clan. Once he guessed it, it meant that they would be exposed. What awaited Qin Wushuang and his friends would be an endless pursuit. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 460. Indeed, as Qin Wushuang had expected, that General Manager Su had been recuperating in a secret place. After he had come out, he learned that the team led by Commander Chen Sun had been completely annihilated. In other words, he was the only survivor. However, what he had seen a moment ago had caused an extra layer of doubt to appear in his suspicious mind. The cultivation of these Wu brothers isn't very high. At that time, the enemies that had launched a surprise attack on the Duck Beak Mountain had also killed all of my team. How could these Wu brothers be unharmed, and all three of them had survived? General Manager Su's head was full of questions. This time, he had just recovered from his internal injuries. Initially, he had come to the orderly mountain capital city to visit a friend who lived here. In a moment, he had arrived at the house he was visiting. This was a small manor. Although it was not big, it had been built with exquisite craftsmanship. In this orderly mountain capital city, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, it meant that the owner of this manor had done well in the city to own such a small manor. This was not General Manager Su's territory. Thus, he had been extremely careful with each detail. Even to the gatekeeper, he was courteous. He handed over the visiting card. When that gatekeeper saw General Manager Su's temperament and that he was looking for the owner, he did not dare to neglect him. He led him in and waited for a moment in the courtyard. Then, a straightforward voice came from the corridor. "Ha ha, Senior Su, what brings you here today?" When General Manager Su heard this voice, he also beamed with joy. "Senior Dong, I came in a hurry and did not prepare any generous gifts. I am so scared." A middle-aged man walked out from inside. Although he had a short stature, his face showed a vigorous expression. He hugged General Manager Su. "Please come in, please come in." After the host and guest had sat down, tea was served. "Senior Su, I heard a while ago that you had gotten involved in the muddy water of the 100-Leaf Chin clan. I was worried for you. I heard that Chen Sen's entire team had been annihilated. I thought you. Fortunately, us brothers can meet again." This middle-aged man had the surname Dong and his name was Dong Xiong. He had known this General Manager Su since he was a teenager. They had traveled together, killed enemies together, gone through trials and tribulations together. Thus, they shared an extraordinary relationship. Therefore, Dong Xiong did not hide anything when he spoke. General Manager Su gave a light sigh. Indeed, he still felt a lingering fear when he talked about the old matter of the 100-Leaf Chin clan. Now that he thought about it, he still felt a little scared. That battle had given him a psychological shock that he still couldn't completely calm down even now. Before the battle, they had made all kinds of preparations. No matter how they looked at it, Commander Chern felt that they would definitely win that battle. But the result was completely different. "Brother Dong, I won't hide it from you. Brother, I participated in that battle. Moreover, I almost didn't get to see you again. That battle, sigh." General Manager Su sighed. In fact, he had come to the orderly mountain capital city to escape. He planned to stay further away from the 100-Leaf State and that 100-Leaf Chin clan. This was to prevent him, the fish that had escaped the net, from becoming the target of the 100-Leaf Chin clan. To put it bluntly, he was now a stray dog. They didn't dare to live in that area. After all, after the 100-Leaf Chin clan had recovered, surely they would know that he was the fish that had escaped the net. For sure, they would use all possible means to hunt him down. Because of this, he had headed north and planned to escape the limelight. "Brother Su, don't beat around the bush between us. Is it that you can't stay in that area anymore?" Dong Xiong asked. "The 100-Leaf Chin clan knows that I am the fish that had escaped the net. They have already started to look for me all over the world. I cannot stay in the Black Raven Royal City, the Yellow Wind Royal City, and these two territories. The best way is to go as far as possible. This time, I only wanted to visit you to tell you that I am going to seek refuge in the north. From now on, it will not be easy for us to meet again. I don't have many friends that I care about. Brother Dong is one of them." These words caused Dong Xiong to sigh in his heart. He could not help but think of the time when the two of them had fought side by side in their youth. "Brother Su, tell me, why are you doing this?" The 100-Leaf Chin clan is a branch of the Heavenly Emperor Chin clan. Although the Heavenly Emperor Chin clan has lost their power, they still have their strength and foundation. If you provoke them for no reason, aren't you just looking for trouble? You have been smart all your life and knew how to scheme. How come you are so stupid this time? The corner of General Manager Su's mouth twitched, full of bitterness. He raised his head and said, "Brother Dong, with our talents and aptitudes, do you think we can still have a breakthrough in cultivation in this lifetime?" Dong Xiong gave a long sigh. "This is extremely difficult. Us brothers know each other well. Regardless of you or me, we have less than 1% chance to break into the profound void martial stage." "That's right." General Manager Su nodded. "The reason why I risked universal condemnation and participated in the siege of the 100-Leaf Chin clan was because of my own selfishness. I also thought that in my lifetime, if I do not have any special fortuitous opportunities, or external help, it would be impossible for me to enter the profound void martial stage. However, it's different for the 100-leaf Qin clan. As long as I enter the mine of the 100-leaf Qin clan, there are countless wealth, countless fortuitous opportunities. When he said here, the fanatical look in General Manager Su's eyes still appeared blazing. The 100-leaf Qin clan possessed wealth that could rival a country. It would be a lie to say that the outside world was not jealous. Even the prefecture lord of the orderly mountain prefecture was somewhat envious when he talked about the 100-leaf Qin clan. Naturally, the strength of the prefecture lord surpassed anyone in the 100-leaf Qin clan. Naturally, the power of the subordinates of the prefecture lord were stronger than the 100-leaf Qin clan. However, in terms of wealth, even as the prefecture lord, he had to admit defeat. However, Dong Xiong said, "Senior Su, what you said is true. However, you must know that those wealth and fortuitous opportunities are almost the private property of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. If you covet them, it's the same as snatching food from the mouth of the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan. The facts have proven that the 100-leaf Qin clan is not as weak as you think." The muscles on General Manager Su's face trembled slightly. The 100-leaf Qin clan has hidden too much of their strength. If I was given another chance, even if the 100-leaf Qin clan were 10 times more prominent, I would not be moved. In that battle, if I had not escaped quickly, I am afraid I would not have survived. You're lucky enough. Everyone knows that in that battle, those freelance martial artists organized by Chun Sun were completely annihilated. Not a single one of them survived. When Dong Xiong said here, he also looked at General Manager Su with a bitter smile. At that time, I thought you had also died. However, General Manager Su frowned slightly and could not help but ask, "Senior Dong, is it true that the outside world is spreading the rumor that all of us were annihilated and not a single one of us survived?" Yes, according to everyone's guess, most likely no fish had escaped the net. You were truly an accident. General Manager Su shook his head lightly. No, regarding the annihilation of the entire team, even if I was the exception, this statement would not be valid. From what I know, there were survivors among the people that participated in this matter. And there was more than one. Dong Xiong was extremely astonished as he said stutteringly, "Impossible? How many of you had participated in that battle?" The total number was 85, I remember it clearly. Each general manager had a team of 20 people. 4 general managers, a total of 80 people. Then, there were Chun Sun and the other 5. Senior Dong, before I came to your place, I saw a strange thing on the street. Please consider it carefully. Seeing him speaking with such seriousness, Dong Xiong could not help but ask, "What is it?" Speaking of this matter, it's related to the attack on the 100-leaf Qin clan. At the moment, General Manager Su explained the entire sequence of events. He explained the entire process of how Qin Wushuang and the other 2 had signed up, as well as how he had met them on the street. Senior Dong, regarding those 3 brothers, I already had my suspicions. However, we were pressed for time and Chen Xin had only given us a short amount of time. We did not have the time to check their identities. I only remember that these 3 brothers had said that they had come from the Great Gobi. Their surname was Wu. After Dong Xiong had finished listening, he also felt somewhat strange. He nodded and said thoughtfully, "It would make sense if one of the 3 brothers had survived. However, according to your description, you guys were in a bad situation in that battle. And according to the news after the battle, there was only one survivor from the battle at the Duck Beak Mountain. Of course, that survivor was you. Then, how did the 3 brothers of the Wu family survive?" That's what I suspected. With their strength, they were not particularly outstanding. They could even be said to be below average. General Manager Su tried hard to recall every detail of the past. However, in my memory, the leader of the 3 Wu brothers was extremely calm. He had a quick reaction and did not let anything out. Senior Su, are you suspecting that they were not freelance martial artists, but spies sent by the 100-Leaf Qin clan? When he said here, Dong Xiong waved his hand and said with a decisive tone, "Let me give you a piece of advice. Regardless of whether those three were spies from the 100-Leaf Qin clan, the matter of the 100-Leaf Qin clan ends here. Don't think about the million bounty. Those are all unrealistic. You escaped with your life last time, could it be that you want to get involved again?" General Manager Su's expression was strange. He did not say yes or no. He frowned as if he was thinking about something. His expression was extremely focused. After a moment, suddenly, this General Manager Su slapped his thigh. No. Senior Dong, I feel that something is not right." "What is not right?" Suddenly, General Manager Su asked with a smile. "Senior Dong, in these 2 days, what lively things have happened in the capital city? Think about it." "Lively things?" Dong Xiong thought for a moment. In terms of lively things, of course the floating snow house master has paid a visit to our orderly mountain capital city. What else? Last night's massacre at the Freelance Martial Artist Union, does it count as one of them? Haha, it's only a lowly freelance martial artist that got killed. It's not worth mentioning. That freelance martial artist is not worth mentioning. However, the words that he posted are worth pondering over. Because of his words, the floating snow house master had offered a bounty of 100,000 gold crystal stones to match the mission issued by the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect. Inside this matter, it's all related to a name. Qin Wushuang, right? Dong Xiong twirled his beard and smiled. The world has changed. Now, the young people of the human countries are able to cause such a commotion in the Xianyuan Mound? To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 461. Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang. General Manager Su kept repeating this name. Human countries. This guy, haha. Senior Su, what are you talking about? Dong Xiong felt that after the battle with the 100-Leaf Qin clan, his old friend's head had been stimulated and he had become somewhat eccentric. However, General Manager Su showed a face full of ruthlessness and experience as he moved forward to say, "Senior Dong, if Iron Holler's information and speculation about Qin Wushuang is reliable, then I suspect that those three Wu brothers are most likely Qin Wushuang in disguise." "What?" Dong Xiong also showed a face full of astonishment when he heard these words. Apparently, he was also astonished. This news was too unexpected. "What evidence do you have?" Apparently, Dong Xiong was also interested. "This is only my speculation. First of all, if these three were ordinary freelance martial artists, I don't believe that they could have escaped unscathed under such circumstances. They are either spies sent by the 100-Leaf Qin clan, or that Qin Wushuang. Besides, from the number of people, Qin Wushuang has 2 spiritual beast partners. I heard that they both have the strength of the Void Martial stage. As long as they are spiritual beasts at the Void Martial stage, they would have the power to refine their forms. Thus, from the number of people, it matches. Besides, a moment ago, I saw those three were in a hurry. Apparently, they were leaving the orderly mountain capital city. Currently, the orderly mountain capital city is bustling with activity. If they were freelance martial artists, they should have stayed at the Freelance Martial Artist Union to search for opportunities. Why would they leave in a hurry? I have every reason to speculate that they had received news about the bounty and were afraid of exposing their identities. This General Manager Su's eloquent words had caused Dong Xiong's expression to become even more complicated. When General Manager Su stopped, Dong Xiong could not help but say, "After all, you are only speculating. Regardless of how reasonable your speculation is, it is only speculation. It's easy to prove it. They are not far from the city. Let's go after them immediately. With our strength, we can definitely catch up to them. If they are truly freelance martial artists, we can just kill them. If it's really Qin Wushuang, then we can make a fortune. Dong Xiong was obviously somewhat hesitant. He was weighing whether or not this amount of money was worth it for him to personally make a move. Old Su, if your deduction is reliable, I feel that it would be better to tell this news to Mu Rong Qianji. If that's the case, we'll be able to obtain a bounty of 100,000 without any effort. What Lord Murong wanted was a living person and a clue. And the pay was even higher. Since the heavenly Luo Taoist sect wanted heads, they would offer lesser rewards. It's meaningless for us to do it ourselves. With Dong Xiong's mindset, he felt that it was better to just sit back and wait to collect money. Moreover, even if this clue wasn't accurate, it would be hard for Mu Rong Qianji to blame them. General Manager Su shook his head decisively. Brother Dong, you've been in the orderly mountain capital, have you never heard of the rumors about that Qin Wushuang? The reason why Qin Wushuang was so monstrous was because he possessed an extremely powerful weapon. He could kill people above his level. You should know the level of a weapon that could kill people above his level, right? To put it bluntly, in this capital city, you are a local tyrant. Would you lack that 100,000 gold crystal stones? These words caused Dong Xiong to feel a rush of excitement. Dong Xiong had also heard a lot of information about Qin Wushuang. Only, he had never been interested in this matter. Hearing General Manager Su's analysis, of course, he could not help but feel excited. Perhaps the gold crystal stones would not be a great temptation to him. However, to them, an extraordinary weapon would be a great temptation. This kind of temptation couldn't be compared to the temptation of money. Old Su, what do you mean? Dong Xiong asked in a low voice. Let's do it ourselves. General Manager Su made a slashing motion in the air. His tone was ruthless and his expression was gloomy. His initial refined appearance had now appeared incomparably malevolent. However, Dong Xiong was not a young man who was inexperienced in life. After careful consideration, he had considered all the problems from all sides in an instant. It would not be a problem to do it themselves. The problem was how to do it. After they succeeded, how to divide the spoils of war. At that time, he would not have worked for nothing and would instead lose his life. Although he had a close relationship with Old Su, it was still unknown whether this relationship could withstand the test of a divine weapon. Qin Wushuang could kill people above his level with a bow and arrow. Even if it was not a divine weapon, it must be in existence close to a magical one. If such a weapon fell into their hands, they would be invincible in the transformation void martial realm, and even in the profound void martial realm. Even if they encountered a transcendent void martial realm expert, if they had a divine weapon, they would be able to defend themselves. Brother Dong, do you have any doubts? General Manager Su asked. Old Su, we are as close as brothers. Let's not treat each other like strangers. If those three people are really Qin Wushuang and his group, after we succeed, how will we divide the spoils of war? There is only one weapon. No matter who gets it, the other one will not be happy. Dong Xiong went straight to the point and stated the fact. Brother Dong, I have also considered this problem. But think about it, even if that bow and arrow is a divine weapon, it is divided into two parts. The bow and the arrow. If we really get it, we can take control of this divine weapon together. One will take control of the bow, and the other will take control of the arrow. In the future, we will work together as brothers again. Regardless of staying in this orderly mountain prefecture or going to other places, we will have enough capital. This distribution method was rather reasonable. Dong Xiong nodded. All right, in this case, if we can truly get a divine weapon, what's there to cherish about my family business? In the future, Us two brothers will share this family business and create a new world together. General Manager Su was overjoyed. Great, there is no time to lose, let's depart now. Hold on, old Su, if those three are really Qin Wushuang and his group. Their power should not be underestimated. If we go there recklessly, we must have a plan. Or else we will suffer losses. Just as you said, that Qin Wushuang has a great weapon to kill people above his level. General Manager Su nodded. We must guard against this. However, according to the information, the strongest among them is only at the refined void martial stage. They are much weaker than us two brothers. As long as we use our strategy and prevent them from having the chance to use the bow and arrow, everything will be easy. Okay, let's go first and not let them go too far. After the two of them finished their discussion, they casually packed up and quickly set off. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang and his group had left the city and headed north. In a moment, they had arrived at the desolate countryside. The three of them found a secluded place and changed their outfits and attire. Qin Wushuang had a few masks that had been used in the human countries. Now, he picked one randomly and covered his face. Then, he slightly changed the shape of his body. For Bao Bao and Lone, it was not difficult to change their appearance and outfit. In terms of shape refinement, it was completely within their thoughts. After they had finished, the three of them looked at each other happily. Of course, they were not used to it at first. Boss, didn't you say that General Manager Su was severely injured? How come he came to the capital city now? It's been a long time since he got injured. This person is extremely malicious and suspicious. We must guard against him. When Qin Wushuang said up to this point, suddenly, his eyelids twitched for no reason. Such twitching of the eyelids usually carried some kind of hint. Currently, Qin Wushuang could not help but feel a slight throbbing in his heart as he was discussing these matters. Boss, what's wrong? Lone asked curiously. Qin Wushuang gave a sneer. I have a strange feeling that for sure, that General Manager Su will expose our whereabouts. Let him expose us, how could the three of us be scared of him? Initially, we dared to go to his door to deceive him. Now we are not scared of him. Lone did not care. On the contrary, Bao Bao was more cautious. I am just scared that he is a treacherous person and would sell out our information. In case we provoke the heavenly Luo Daoist sect and those powerful freelance martial artists, it would be difficult for us. Even if Lord Mu Rong comes, it would be troublesome for us. Let's not talk about these things, let's leave quickly. That sense of crisis inside Qin Wushuang's heart had become heavier. After walking a few steps, Qin Wushuang stopped and shook his head. If we walk like this, regardless of how fast we walk, even if we run with all our strength, we would not be faster than the speed of a transformation void martial stage martial artist in the air. If we walk too fast, we would appear to be lacking in confidence. Then what should we do? Bao Bao asked. Walk slowly, we will do whatever we need to do. Qin Wushuang's arrogance flared up. With that General Manager Su's treacherous and suspicious personality, if he had guessed my identity, he would not have told anyone. He has an ambition that no one else has. Could it be that he still has the appetite to swallow us all? I am afraid that's what he thinks. As Qin Wushuang spoke, he pulled the hegemon breaking formation spear in his hand. With a heroic spirit that reached the clouds, he laughed. Regardless of how big his appetite is, if he truly wants to scheme against us, I will never agree. Ha ha, isn't he just at the transformation void martial stage? Boss, let's fight with him. I believe that with the three of us working together, even if Boss does not use the graceful spiritual bow, we will still be able to deal with an elite warrior at the transformation void martial stage. Not to mention that General Manager Su was injured not long ago. I don't believe that he has fully recovered. While they were talking, Qin Wushuang stood up suddenly. A wave of sharp light kept shooting out from his eyes as he looked at the sky with astonishment. The three of them felt that the surrounding valley had suddenly become much darker. As if a black cloud was pressing down on the village, it had covered the entire sky. "Ha ha, indeed you have changed your appearance!" General Manager Su shot down from the sky and dropped before Qin Wushuang. "Stop." Qin Wushuang gave a light snort and looked at General Manager Su with vigilance. "Ha ha, don't pretend you don't know Wu Xinghe. Ha ha, this is a fake name. Don't pretend. If I had not seen you before and you had changed your appearance, I might not have been able to recognize you. But now, the moment your eyes met mine in the city, I used a special pupil attachment technique on your body. No matter how marvelous your transformation is, my eyes can see through you." As soon as these words were spoken, Qin Wushuang was also shocked. Pupil attachment technique. It sounded like a mystery to him. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 462. As soon as Qin Wushuang saw the stance of this General Manager Su, he knew that he would not let go of today's matter. However, he had always had an outstanding mentality. Even when facing an elite warrior at the transformation void martial stage, he was not afraid inwardly. Lights flashed in Bao Bao and Lone's eyes. Apparently, they planned to make a move without a word. "General Manager Su, you have good eyes," Qin Wushuang said lightly. Inwardly, he was alert as he muttered to himself, "On that day, during the battle at the Duck Beak Mountain, General Manager Su abandoned us freelance martial artists. Unexpectedly, you escaped to the capital city of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. Could it be that General Manager Su doesn't know that the 100-Leaf Qin clan has already cast an inescapable net to catch you, the fish that escaped the net?" A mocking smile emerged from the corner of General Manager Su's mouth. "Yet," he said with an indifferent tone, "I find it strange that you three brothers have lived until now unscathed. Can you three brothers help me clear up the doubts in my heart?" Lone swore. "Su, don't be shameless, get lost if you know what's good for you. In the future, none of us will know each other. If you don't, we will announce your whereabouts to the world. I believe that in less than a month, the hunting team of the 100-Leaf Qin clan will have their eyes on you." When General Manager Su heard these words, he laughed. However, he did not expose them. With a flash of his hand, General Manager Su already held his signature blue and white long sword in his hand. As he held it in his hand, although he did not reveal any murderous intent, Qin Wushuang and the others did not dare to neglect it. Lone roared, "I will take the lead." Zhang Xian stepped forward, flicked his sleeves and threw a punch forward. This punch did not have any fancy moves. However, as soon as he threw out this punch, a wave of distorted fist aura filled the air. As soon as this fist aura swayed with the wind, it dispersed instantly and congealed into many illusory fists to smash at General Manager Su from head to toe. Bao Bao also gave a loud roar and waved the giant stick in his hand to attack from the side. As soon as he threw out this stick, sand and stones flew in all directions. The miserable sound of the wind lingered in the ears. Qin Wushuang didn't stop either. Pointing the Overlord breaching formation spear into the distance, his body quickly dashed forward. Quiet as a virgin, moving like a fleeing rabbit, this was exactly the kind of vigorous and nimble skills that he had. Qin Wushuang's spear strike was completely based on his thoughts. There was simply no superfluous fancy move. It was the first style of his self-created spear art, Awakening. When this spear was used by Qin Wushuang, its might was naturally different. The spear aura rolled out, and the entire Overlord breaking formation spear was like an angry azure dragon, swallowing and spitting. General Manager Su was also stunned. He had made a lot of mental preparations before this and knew that Wu Xinghe and his two brothers were really Qin Wushuang in disguise. Their cultivation must be very strong. However, even so, General Manager Su still did not experience the feeling of superiority in terms of cultivation realm under the simultaneous attacks of the three people. The three well-coordinated attacks pushed him into a dangerous situation in the span of a breath. Bastard! Sure enough, he was hiding his strength. General Manager Su was infuriated. His feet stepped back repeatedly, and he was actually unable to charge forward and face the three attacks head-on. As he retreated, Qin Wushuang's arm suddenly waved. Then, a yellow light flashed, like a yellow transparent cloth covering his body. Then, this yellow light rolled and swept away Qin Wushuang and his two brothers. It was as if a large hand had appeared out of thin air and pulled the three of them away from where they stood. General Manager Su stood on his feet, and his eyes flashed with surprise. The blue long sword in his hand was activated, and he slashed down repeatedly. This sword light came one after another, and its sharpness was unparalleled. The entire ground seemed to have been plowed by a bull. It was completely overturned, and it was a mess. In midair, Dong Xiong also rushed down. Old Su, how did they escape? General Manager Su's face was ashen. He stared at the ground around him and cursed, "That guy is full of tricks. He must have realized that I brought helpers this time." Therefore, he immediately activated a talisman to escape after only one exchange. This is an Earth Escape talisman that goes deep into the Earth vein. It's more advanced than ordinary Earth Escape talismans. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to escape so quickly. Dong Xiong's face was a bit ugly. Then what should we do? We can't have come here for nothing, right? Don't worry. This kind of Earth Escape technique pursues the depth of the Earth vein, but the distance of escape won't be very far. At most, it will be within a radius of 1,000 miles. Within 1,000 miles. Dong Xiong's spirit was lifted. If it's within 1,000 miles, with the range of our transformation void martial stage's divine sense, it's not impossible to lock onto them. General Manager Su nodded. Don't worry, they won't be able to escape far. General Manager Su used the pupil attachment technique on Qin Wushuang and his brothers. This technique was effective for 3 days. Unless they escaped from the coverage of General Manager Su's spiritual perception in these 3 days, General Manager Su could use this miraculous technique to locate the location of Qin Wushuang's group. Dong Xiong was overjoyed. Then let's hurry. General Manager Su said, "Don't worry. This technique has many taboos and inconveniences. We must ensure that there are no super strong masters in this area. Otherwise, if my divine sense searches randomly and offends a super strong master, it will bring us unnecessary trouble." Dong Xiong nodded, knowing that General Manager Su's words were reasonable. "Okay, then you take it one step at a time. If you encounter a strong divine sense defense layer, then avoid it. Those 3 guys can't have a stronger divine sense than you, right?" The talisman Qin Wushuang had used was an escape talisman that used the Earth attribute. This was the strategy that he had decided on when General Manager Su appeared. According to Qin Wushuang's understanding of General Manager Su, General Manager Su's character was comparable to a fox. With his character, if he was alone, it was absolutely impossible for him to come to them. If he was alone and had just recovered from his serious injuries, he would absolutely not dare to come. This was also not in line with his character. If he dared to make a move alone, he would have done it at the entrance of the inn in the capital city. Why would he wait until now? This proved that General Manager Su must have come with his accomplices. The reason why he did not come out was because he was hiding in the dark and waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Of course, Qin Wushuang would not give the other party the opportunity to launch a 2-pronged attack. That was why he had used the Earth Escape talisman to escape even though he had gained the upper hand. With a dash of yellow light, Qin Wushuang and the other two dropped into the underbrush in a valley. Bao Bao straightened up and looked around. When he raised his head, he saw a tall mountain towering before him. "Boss, where the hell are we?" After Qin Wushuang had entered the Xian Yuan Mound, he had been studying the map. He already had a good understanding of the terrain of the Xian Yuan Mound. After a moment of observation, he said, "If I've guessed correctly, this should be the Divine Finger Mountain. Look, don't these 5 continuous mountain peaks look like 5 fingers on a palm?" As Qin Wushuang looked from afar, inwardly, he was also deeply moved by the miraculous nature of this place. "You don't say, it does look like it." Bao Bao also felt extremely amazed when he looked closely. Lone, however, kept his head down. He seemed to be a little unhappy. "Second, what's wrong?" Bao Bao asked curiously. Lone twitched his mouth. "Boss, I say, aren't we being too conservative? Although that Su guy is powerful and at the transformation void martial stage, we were not at a disadvantage a moment ago. Why are we in a rush to leave? If we don't dare to fight with someone stronger than us, how can we improve?" In fact, Bao Bao also had doubts inwardly. Yet, he was smart and did not speak it out. He deliberately discussed the terrain with Qin Wushuang. Now, hearing Lone's words, he immediately shot a glance at him. However, Lone turned his face away and revealed a somewhat depressed and wronged expression. Of course, Qin Wushuang knew that this purple flame electric beast was a battle maniac. Of course, he would feel unhappy when he was forcefully taken away from the battle scene. "Second, if you want to fight, there will always be a chance," Qin Wushuang said lightly. "We must fight with this General Manager Su. However, not at that time and not at that place." "Then what time and what place?" Lone could not help but ask. "Perhaps we cannot set the time, but we must set the place," Qin Wushuang said with a determined tone. Seeing Qin Wushuang speaking with such seriousness, Bao Bao knew that the situation was not as simple as they had imagined. He asked curiously, "Boss, just what kind of knowledge is involved in this? You two, use your brains and think. Since this battle is inevitable, why should I waste such precious Earth-evasive talisman?" "Yes, boss, luckily you activated the Earth-evasive talisman. If it was an ordinary talisman, for sure you would not have been able to escape the pursuit of an elite warrior at the transformation void martial stage," Bao Bao said. "I did this to buy time for us and to strive for a more favorable environment for us to unleash our potential," Qin Wushuang said with a cautious tone. With General Manager Su's suspicious personality, for sure he would not dare to chase after us by himself. If I've guessed correctly, he has an accomplice in the middle of the sky. And this accomplice must have shared a life and death relationship with him. His strength is also on par with his." Both Bao Bao and Lone were stunned as their faces were filled with astonishment. Think about it, under that situation, if we were attacked from left and right by them. With 2 elite warriors at the transformation void martial stage attacking us from the left and right, what are our chances of winning? This. Bao Bao drew a breath of cold air and did not dare to think further. He stammered, "Unless boss has the time to activate the graceful spiritual bow, or else. We don't have the slightest hope." At this moment, Lone had to admit this point. "Boss, it seems that General Manager Su is suspicious of your identity." A light flashed across Bao Bao's head as he said at the same time, "This way, from now on, we will have endless troubles." Lone was rather optimistic as he laughed dryly. "The more troubles, the better. I want to see how many people who are not afraid of death will come to our door." However, Qin Wushuang shook his head. "Perhaps that General Manager Su has guessed our identity. However, with his selfish personality, most likely he would not share this information with others. Or else, he would have already sold this information to the floating snow master. This Su guy, what does he want to do?" Lone swore. I am afraid his target is not the bounty, but us. Qin Wushuang said coldly. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 463. The target is with us? Bao Bao was stunned and immediately understood. Yes, boss. Now, all the freelance martial artists of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture know that you have a powerful Bao. This Su guy seems to have a big appetite. Just when Lone was about to scold him, Qin Wushuang stopped him with a hand gesture. From Qin Wushuang's expression, he did not show any anger or fear. He only showed calmness and calmness. Let's not talk about it. Since General Manager Su came to us, it would be unnecessary to say 1,000 words. With the current situation, we cannot leave. These were not frightening words to scare them. With their speed, they had no chance of winning against a transformation void martial stage martial artist flying in the sky. Now, the problem was that General Manager Su had performed the mysterious pupil attachment technique on them. Even if they changed their appearance, it would be in vain. They could not win in terms of speed. Changing their appearance would not work either. It meant that they only had one choice left for them, and that was to fight. Fight to the death. With a determined expression, Qin Wushuang said, although General Manager Su did not spread the news because of his own selfish motives, to us, it's a good thing. At least, if we can kill General Manager Su, we can avoid a lot of future troubles. Boss, then let's fight with them. So what if they are at the transformation void martial stage? I don't believe that us three brothers cannot beat them. Boss, as long as you use the graceful spiritual Bao well, we still have a chance of winning. Now, our only chance of winning is the graceful spiritual Bao. Qin Wushuang said in a low voice, second, third. For this battle, we must use some strategy. Boss, what strategy? Bao Bao and Lone asked at the same time. Qin Wushuang analyzed. Let's say they already guessed my identity, they must know that I have the graceful spiritual Bao. To me, they will be extra vigilant. Thus, for this battle, we must change our strategy. Bao Bao, Lone, if you guys use the graceful spiritual Bao, do you have the confidence to shoot General Manager Su to death? Bao Bao and Lone looked at each other in dismay. They knew their limits. Even if they were given a weapon that they had never used before, they wouldn't be able to use it as well as their boss. Even though their cultivation bases were slightly higher than Qin Wushuang's, they were still very strong. The two of them knew their own limits at the very least. Bao Bao said with a bitter smile, Boss, you and the graceful spiritual Bao have been working together for many years. Since you kept merging, the graceful spiritual Bao has almost become one with you. If the two of us use the graceful spiritual Bao, its power will definitely not be as powerful as yours, unless the two of us have also entered the profound void realm. Otherwise, even if they were at the transformation void martial stage, their control of the graceful spiritual Bao would not be as skillful as boss, and the effect would not be as good as when boss is controlling it. Lone also admitted this point. Boss, the graceful spiritual Bao still needs you to operate. Qin Wushuang sighed and said, naturally, the effect would be the best if I were to operate it. However, that Chief Steward Su's character is cunning. He won't act until he sees the hair. If I hide and don't appear, he will definitely be on guard against the two of you. It will be impossible for me to take advantage of this opportunity. GMO said helplessly, then what should we do? Suddenly, Bao Bao had an idea as he said with joy. Boss, I have a plan, do you think it will work? Tell me. Lone urged him. Bao Bao rolled his eyes and revealed a trace of a proud smile. He said in a low voice, Boss, look, us and Lone can all refine our appearance. Pick one at random, imitate your appearance, and wear your clothes. And you will hide in the corner and launch a sneak attack with the graceful spiritual Bao. Lone slapped his thigh. Good plan. Boss, I think Bao Bao's idea will work. This was a good idea. Qin Wushuang deduced it and found it to be feasible. However, it was not without flaws. This plan is not bad. However, regardless of which of you impersonating me, I will hide in the dark. If one of the three is missing, the other party will get suspicious. Boss, how about you stop hiding in the dark? You should also participate in the battle. Second, and I will fight for some space for you. You will use your fastest speed to launch a sneak attack with the graceful spiritual bow. Qin Wushuang said, This will work, the opportunity will disappear in a flash. As long as there is a trace of opportunity, I will have the confidence to shoot him to death with the graceful spiritual bow. Okay, let's do it this way. Second, are you going to disguise as boss, or should I do it? Lone thought for a moment and said, You should do it, I will be in charge of breaking through the enemy lines. I will create the opportunity for boss. You will support from the side and observe the situation. If that friend of Su comes together, you will be in charge of restraining him. In a one-on-one fight, even if you cannot beat them at the transformation void martial stage, as long as you are willing to fight with your life on the line, it will not be a problem to hold them back for a while. Okay, boss, I will start to change into your appearance. You will just find a random mask to change into. They are mainly targeting you. As for me and second, we will change our appearance. Even if they are suspicious, they will not think too much. The three of them reached an agreement and dashed towards the direction of the Divine Finger Mountain. In the process of refining one's appearance, all the changes were within a thought. With the original body as a reference, Bao Bao appeared to have an easy time changing his appearance. Unless it was someone who was familiar with Qin Wushuang's temperament, or else, just this appearance would fool everyone. Boss, what do you think, do I look like you? Qin Wushuang looked at him with astonishment for a moment. Before he could speak, Lone laughed. You look too similar. This appearance can definitely pass off as the real thing. Okay, now don't call me boss. Now you are the boss, Qin Wushuang said with a smile. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. They had already found a favorable terrain. The valley between the two peaks of the Divine Finger Mountain was filled with lush forest and abundant vegetation. It was the best place to hide. It was easy to defend and hard to attack if they were to hide in this area. A special meaning flashed across Qin Wushuang's brows. This is the place. Whether we will be destroyed or continue to live, it will depend on this battle. Su, come, I will wait to break your bones. Lone swore recklessly. General Manager Su and Dong Xiong flew in the sky and explored with their spiritual perception. They did not encounter any obstacles or threats. At this moment, General Manager Su's eyes were flashing with a strange blue light. He was using his pupil technique to search for the source of the attached pupil. This technique was like a light source sensing technique. As long as his pupil light got close to Qin Wushuang and the others who were carriers of the pupil attachment technique, his pupil light would sense them and lock onto their position. How is it? Dong Xiong seemed very anxious. It would be too depressing if the duck that was at the mouth flew away. Dong Xiong obviously could not calm down. Don't worry, the more anxious you are, the happier they will be. General Manager Su's psychological quality was outstanding. Although they had been searching for half a day, the sky was gradually darkening. If they could not lock onto the position before nightfall, they would have to wait until tomorrow. Because in the dark, it was unfavorable for transformation void martial stage warriors like them who had the advantage in the air. Because in the air, you would become a target and would be easily discovered. As for the targets lying in ambush on the ground, it would be even harder for them to locate them in the dark. The blue light in General Manager Su's eyes suddenly shot out a deep blue light, directly shooting in a direction. General Manager Su was overjoyed. Northwest direction, go. The two of them immediately sped up and rushed towards the northwest direction. Isn't that the Divine Finger Mountain? From afar, the two of them saw 5 continuous peaks in the middle of the air. Surrounded by layers upon layers of mountains, they appeared to be superior. They towered in front of them and pierced through the clouds. Could it be those 3 guys are hiding in the Divine Finger Mountain? General Manager Su was in a difficult situation. It would be better if this Divine Finger Mountain was only on the periphery. However, it would be troublesome if they entered the forbidden area of the Divine Finger Mountain. The 3rd summit of the Divine Finger Mountain was not an ordinary place. Over there was a sect that was not weak. And this place had already left the jurisdiction of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture and entered the Judge Mountain Prefecture. This sect of the Divine Finger Mountain happened to be the strongest sect in the Judge Mountain Prefecture. Its position was equivalent to the Dark Green Cloud Taoist sect of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. The most fatal part was that this sect had never been on good terms with the Dark Green Cloud Taoist sect. They were extremely conflicted with the people of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture. Senior Su, before the fortuitous opportunity, you will not shrink back, right? Don't think too much, this primary central sect would not be so easy to talk to, and let them break into the forbidden area. Locate them again. General Manager Su nodded and spread out the light from his eyes. After a little while, General Manager Su revealed an ecstatic expression. Indeed, they are only between the head summit and the 2nd summit. If they did not pass the 2nd summit, the primary central sect would not care. Let's go. Although the 2 of them said this, they did not dare to act too arrogant when they arrived at the area of the Divine Finger Mountain. They descended from the sky and changed to walking. It was this layer of restraining fear that had destroyed their advantage in the sky. Senior Dong, this time, let's not play with empty words. As long as we see that Qin Wushuang, we will attack with all our strength. We only need to take out Qin Wushuang. It doesn't matter if we kill those 2 guys or not. Besides, as long as we don't have that suspected divine weapon, why would we care about a mere refined void martial stage? Yes, let's make a move directly and efficiently. We should have done this last time. Dong Xiong also said. Senior Dong, if people of the primary central sect appear, you must not expose your identity. Or else, it would be troublesome. General Manager Su still had some concerns inwardly. Don't worry, do you think I am stupid? Besides, although I am a disciple of the Dark Green Cloud Taoist sect, I have lived in the capital city of the Orderly Mountain Prefecture for a long time. Not many people in the outside world know my identity. This Dong Xiong had another identity. He was a disciple of the Dark Green Cloud Taoist sect. He came from the same sect as Dong Qian, whom Chen Tong had invited. They were even from the same bloodline. When the 2 of them passed the head summit, they became even more cautious. They advanced step by step and advanced stealthily. Apparently, they were unwilling to act rashly and alert the enemy. The light from General Manager Su's eyes also kept flashing. Apparently, the closer the target was to his position, the more intense the reaction from his eyes. He is within 10 miles. General Manager Su did not even dare to speak as he sent his voice through his spiritual sense. At this moment, they did not expect that as soon as they stepped into this area, they were completely detected by Bao Bao, who was hiding underground. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 464. Although Bao Bao was only a spiritual beast at the refined void martial stage, he did not possess the immemorial bloodline for nothing. Most importantly, he was born with the ability to move underground. Compared to these two, he was much more familiar with the earth attribute. Thus, even General Manager Su and that Dong Xiong could not grasp his movements while moving underground. Boss, as you expected, they did find this place. The strange thing is, they did not use their advantage in the air, but approached from the ground. Bao Bao delivered the information immediately. At the same time, he was somewhat confused. Qin Wushuang thought about it and said, "Now, the sky is gradually getting dark. Since they are in the air, it would not be effective for them to scout the ground. On the contrary, it would be easier for us to discover them. It's not that they gave up their advantage in the air, but that they did not dare to use it. They were afraid that I would shoot them with the graceful spiritual bow." "Ha ha, that's right." Bao Bao scratched his head and said with a chuckle, "It's much easier to deal with them since they came from the ground. Everyone, follow the plan." Qin Wushuang made a hand gesture. Instantly, the three of them transformed into 3 rays of light and shot towards 3 different positions. These 3 positions all had one unique point. They were extremely hidden and were good for observing the surroundings. Using the advantage of the slope, they could observe any enemies that tried to approach from the kernel. Furthermore, the location where the 3 of them were located was not far away from where they were. Once something unexpected happened, it would be easy for them to help each other. Of course, Qin Wushuang spent a lot of time thinking about this distribution. "Hey!" Lone was the first one to jump out and yelled from afar, "Su, I have been waiting for you here for a long time. Why are you not coming up to die?" Qin Wushuang always remembered his current identity as Bao Bao. He also changed his voice and laughed dryly. However, he did not speak and only used this strange laugh to prevent the other party from recognizing him. General Manager Su and Dong Xiong exchanged a look. The 2 of them moved almost at the same time. It was as if a pair of wings suddenly grew on their backs. They glided up at a low altitude. The speed of their sprint was actually as fast as lightning. Lone shouted at Bao Bao's position, "Boss, are you ready?" Once this question was asked, GMO rushed down the mountain, with a huge rock in each hand, fiercely smashing towards General Manager Su and Dong Xiong. Although the stones weighed 1,000 pounds, they were not much of a threat to the 2 void transformation stage powerhouses. Both of them swung their weapons and smashed the rock into smithereens. Although Bao Bao moved swiftly, he did not rush downwards. Instead, he pierced to the side. Almost at the same time, Qin Wushuang wielded a giant stick, which was Bao Bao's usual weapon. He rushed out from the sky and merged with Lone to attack General Manager Su. "Brother, you go after them. I'll deal with these 2. General Manager Su called out and waved the blue and white longsword in his hand. He was confident and at ease, and a wave of sword chi whizzed over. The sword light intertwined, and the sky was filled with blue and white mist. When the mist dissipated, it turned into frost and attacked together with the sword chi. However, Lone opposed him with equal harshness. Although he knew that he was inferior to the other party in terms of stage, he still opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of genuine fire towards that murderous sword chi. The fiery light filled the sky like a fiery vermilion bird. It was full of spirituality, and when it collided with the sword chi, half of its power was eliminated. "Third, I will deal with this Su guy, you go help boss," Lone deliberately said loudly. His body rolled in the sky and in the sky. His body kept changing between his human form and his original form. "Okay." Qin Wushuang gave a low shout and retreated backwards. Apparently, Lone wanted to attract the attention of this General Manager Su. His body expanded with the wind. The original form of the purple flame electric beast was extremely mighty. Plus, Lone had deliberately changed his original form, which made him appear even more ferocious and terrifying. Roar! Suddenly, the body of the purple flame electric beast turned from purple to red. He clawed at the sky with both of his claws, and the sharp claws created an ear-piercing explosion sound in the air. The power of these 2 claw attacks was the purple flame electric beast's proudest attack. Although it was simple, it contained a powerful metal attribute attack with powerful penetrating power. General Manager Su did not dare to neglect as he quickly drew 2 circles with the blue and white long sword. After he finished drawing the circles, it instantly formed 2 blue and white protective air shields in front of him. General Manager Su was a cautious person. He knew that spiritual beasts at the Void Martial stage always had astonishing combat power. Even if it was at the refined Void Martial stage, once it went berserk, the combat power it displayed was enough to make him, an elite warrior at the transformation Void Martial stage, feel uncomfortable. Although the difference in stage could not be compensated, it would take some effort to deal with it. Since he had just recovered from his serious injuries, he did not dare to be overly careless. He only used this blue and white water attribute air shield to block this claw attack. Crack! With an explosive sound, under the attack of the claw attack, half of that blue and white air shield had been penetrated and split open from the middle. This scene also made General Manager Su sweat profusely. This claw attack could split open his air shield. Although it could not attack his body, it already made him, an elite warrior at the transformation Void Martial stage, feel the powerful attack power of the spiritual beast. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that the other person had already disappeared into the forest. It seemed that he had gone to help their boss. Overjoyed at the unexpected good news, General Manager Su thought quickly, "I must take down this spiritual beast quickly to prevent any more trouble. That kid is full of tricks. I am afraid that Dong Xiong will be tricked by him. Or maybe Dong Xiong will kill that guy and take the divine weapon for himself. I will have done all the work for Dong Xiong." When he thought here, he did not have a trace of doubt. He stopped probing and did not leave any leeway. He straightened the blue and white long sword and said with a clear whistle, "You bastard, you do have some skills. However, today, I will show you what it means to be an elite warrior at the transformation Void Martial stage." When General Manager Su said here, he threw the long sword into the sky. Then, he kept making hand gestures and mumbling to himself. With a point of his finger, he had guided that long sword to attack the purple flame electric beast. This method of controlling the sword from a distance was astonishing. Even an elite warrior at the refined Void Martial stage would not be able to control it. Only an elite warrior at the transformation Void Martial stage could have this divine ability. That long sword danced in the sky and separated into countless sword lights. They all had the same shape and the same sword aura. Lone said with disdain, "Are you trying to scare people with this sword art of 10,000 transformations?" Although he said this, Lone knew that this sword art was extremely terrifying. Once the sword light of the 10,000 illusions, 1,000 transformations all flew towards him, with his eyesight, he wouldn't be able to tell which sword was the real one. Even if it was an illusory sword light, it was still refined. Although it was not as destructive as the real body sword, it still had some power. Slash! General Manager Su yelled in a low voice. The long sword in the sky suddenly produced a whistling sound and pierced towards the purple flame electric beast. The purple flame electric beast knew that this sword art was exceptional. He did not dare to be careless. He clenched his teeth and his entire body glowed with purple light. The scales on his body suddenly floated up from his body. These scales were like fish scales. No one knew how many hundreds of thousands of scales there were. All of them floated up and swelled up with the wind. They were like purple-colored shields that blocked the body of the purple flame electric beast. After the purple flame electric beast took off the scales, his entire body was smooth and covered with a layer of jade-like skin. He shuttled between the hundreds of thousands of scales. It was unknown how many layers of defense these hundreds of thousands of scales had set up. They floated up in the sky. The scene looked extremely strange. Even General Manager Su was dumbstruck by what he saw. He did not expect that this spiritual beast had such a technique. And it looked like it was made to deal with his sword art of 10,000 transformations. While he was hesitating, Those scales floated up quickly and kept flowing towards him. General Manager Su was shocked. He knew that this spiritual beast was trying to get close to him and attack his real body. Immediately, his body flew up into the sky. He tapped his feet and stepped on his blue and white sword. After stepping on it, the sword art did not stop. It continued to create illusory sword chi and attacked the scales. These illusory sword chi were not the real body's sword. It could only break open the scales, but could not pierce through them. However, it was useless to break open the scales, because after it was broken open, these scales had a sense of recognition towards the purple flame electric beast's real body. Once it was broken open, it would attach itself to the purple flame electric beast again, as if it had a magnetic attraction. The purple flame electric beast roared loudly, "Su, come down if you have the guts! What kind of skill is hiding in the sky?" He cursed loudly, but it was of no use. After all, the purple flame electric beast could move in the sky. But to fly in the sky, he, who was at the refined void martial realm, could not do it for now. All of his actions, in General Manager Su's eyes, were overjoyed. The angrier the purple flame electric beast was, the happier he was. It was because it meant that he had a higher chance of finding the flaw of this spiritual beast. Yet, he had no idea that all of this was Qin Wushuang's strategy. He had let the purple flame electric beast attract General Manager Su's attention and find the perfect opportunity to shoot. As for the friend brought by General Manager Su, even if he was at the transformation void martial stage, Qin Wushuang was not worried at all. With Bao Bao's bloodline of the ancient spiritual monkey, plus his monstrous ability to move underground, even a transformation void martial stage martial artist could only be restrained and play hide and seek. Unless the other party was also an elite warrior at the transformation void martial stage who excelled in underground activities. With a calm gaze, Qin Wushuang fixed his gaze on General Manager Su in the sky. It was a familiar action, an action that he had done countless times. Each time, Qin Wushuang was filled with confidence and expectation. It was because once he used the graceful spiritual bow, Qin Wushuang had never been defeated, never. This time, he also firmly believed that he would not fail. The bow was like a full moon, and the arrow was like a shooting star. It was like a skylark flying obliquely from the underbrush, like a shooting star streaking across the sky, like a fleeting glimpse, like a shooting star in an instant whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Arrows in succession, an unprecedented 3 arrows in a row. 3 arrows were shot at the same time. These 3 arrows had condensed all of Qin Wushuang's anger and all of the effort that Qin Wushuang had poured into the graceful spiritual bow over the years. The power was also unprecedented. After shooting the 3 arrows, Qin Wushuang's mood was surprisingly calm. It was because he had a strong intuition that once these 3 arrows were shot, even the 2 general managers Su would die for sure. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.